starting from Douluo, shocking all the worlds. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction. So don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 101. Then I should be qualified. Brother Tang? Hearing the sudden loud laughter from a distance, Tang San was stunned for a moment, then his tense body involuntarily relaxed. He knew who it was. Although this guy usually had a thick face, he was still very loyal at critical moments. And the other party doesn't know where he learned the habit. He likes to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger the most, and he is better at hiding than anyone else. Tang San still doesn't know what the limit of that guy's strength is. But he believes that if the two join hands, it will definitely be much better than the current situation. But if this guy is alive, then Xiao Wu should be safe too, right? Thinking of this, Tang San's eyes suddenly brightened, filled with anticipation. As for Duke Long standing opposite, he snorted heavily when he heard the loud laughter. Another one came to die, and it happened that the old man solved all of you together, accompanied by the howling wind. Under the eyes of everyone, a figure flew rapidly from the distant sky, and came to the top of their heads in the blink of an eye. It was Tang Ge, who had left from the valley before. He was floating in mid-air at the moment, the yin-yang wings on his back flapped gently, and the power of yin-yang surrounded him, adding a sense of mystery. As soon as he saw Tang Ge, without waiting for the other party to speak, Tang San couldn't wait to ask. Tang Ge, where's Xiao Wu? How is Xiao Wu doing now? Haha. Can I say that I scared your Xiao Wu so much that you called me Brother Tang again? Hearing Tang San's question, Tang Ge couldn't help laughing secretly in his heart. But on the surface he didn't say that, but nodded and said, don't worry, everything is fine. However, Xiao Wu's spirit power has also broken through to level, and now she is merging with the third spirit ring, and it may take a while to get back. It's fine. It's fine. After getting the news of Xiao Wu's safety, Tang San finally let go of a big rock in his heart. And when he heard that Xiao Wu had already reached level, he felt even more happy for Xiao Wu. It's just that at this moment, a burst of angry shouts from Wang Hang suddenly interrupted the conversation between Tang Ge and Tang San. I really didn't expect Tang San to be full of lies at such a young age. The Titan giant ape is the king of the starred out great forest. Even if I fall into its hands, I may not be able to escape alive. Now, the little guy you said you needed me to rescue appeared here safe and sound, and escaped from the grip of the Titan great ape. Do you think the old man looks deceptive? When Tang Ge and Tang San turned their heads to look, they immediately saw Long Gai staring at them with a frosty face, leaning on a silver staff with a dragon's head. A condensed and substantive killing intent continued to emanate from the opponent, which directly lowered the surrounding temperature a lot. Perhaps because of knowing Xiao Wu's safety, Tang San's previous thoughts of going all out had dissipated. Hearing Duke Long's angry reprimand, he couldn't help but smile wryly, and explained, Senior, I didn't lie to you. If you don't believe me, you can stop talking nonsense. Since you have another companion here, then simply call everyone out. Today, the old man wants to see where the Soul Master came from, who dared to snatch away the soul beast of the old man's granddaughter twice in a row. In the end, before Tang San could finish speaking, Duke Long interrupted. Then his eyes fell on Tang Ge, who was flying in mid-air. Tang Ge noticed it, and smiled slightly. Senior, don't look at it, it's just me and Xiaozhen right now. If Senior doesn't mind, I can fight Senior. Madness. It's so insane. Although seeing that the little guy in front of him actually has flying soul skills, his aura should be at least at the 100-year level. But who is Duke Long? He is a contract powerhouse with over 80 levels of soul power. Even if a soul master with a cultivation of the soul emperor is here, he is not qualified to say that he wants to fight Duke Long. What's more, the child in front of him is only so old, and he must be a soul respecter if he reaches the sky. How can Duke Long not be angry that the other party is so arrogant that he wants to fight against him? Even the snake woman, who had been silent all this time, had a face full of frost, and she slammed the snake staff on the ground heavily, showing her soul power cultivation at the level of a soul emperor. Seeing his grandpa and grandma getting so angry, Meng Yiren immediately jumped out. She stared at Tang Ge, who was flying in midair, and shouted loudly, "If you want my grandpa to make a move, you must first pass me if you have the ability to do so, pass your level." Hearing Meng Yiren's words, Tang Ge frowned, and couldn't help showing a weird smile. Immediately, he saw the Wuhan yin-yang life and death diagram slowly emerge in his hand. Immediately afterwards, another purple, 3 black and 4 soul rings appeared from under his feet, and began to move around his body. As soon as the 4 soul rings came out, a powerful aura emanated from Tang Ge's body. Soul Sect. It turned out to be Soul Sect. And at such a young age, the other party actually has a 1,000-year soul ring and 3 10,000-year soul rings. Which big family is this genius boy? At this moment, when he saw the 4 spirit rings constantly moving on Tang Ge's body, let alone Meng Yiren, was so shocked that he almost couldn't help but scream. Even the bodies of Duke Long and Mrs. Snake trembled, and the hands holding the crutches tightened involuntarily. As for Tang San, he also had an incredulous expression on his face, and couldn't help but raise his head and speak. "Tang Ge, where did you get the 10,000-year soul ring?" "What do I mean, and where did I get the 10,000-year soul ring? It's all my own hard work hunting it down, okay?" Regarding Tang San's words, Tang Ge only gave him a supercilious look, and then his eyes passed Meng Yiren and fell directly on Duke Long. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you shocked Meng Yiren and gained, shock points, ding dong. After temporarily blocking the system prompts in his mind, Tang Ge looked at Duke Long and spoke with a faint smile. "Senior, 1 purple and 3 black spirit rings are okay, so I should be qualified to fight with you." Duke Long's face was gloomy and he didn't say a word. Because at this point, although the other party has not disclosed his identity and background, 1 purple and 3 black soul rings must be handwritten by a big family. And it was even more shocking for a child who was only in his teens. If he made a move now, if he couldn't completely keep the opponent here, it would definitely cause endless troubles. This is the result that Duke Long does not want to see anyway, damn it. What happened today? So unlucky. Turning his head to look at his granddaughter, no matter how well-bred Longfair was, he couldn't help but curse secretly in his heart at this moment. On the side, she seemed to have sensed Duke Long's indecisive mind, and the snake lady suddenly sighed. Ultimately, a decision has to be made. That being the case, let my old lady lose face once. Thinking of this, the snake lady was about to come out and speak. But at this moment, another rough and anxious voice came from a distance. "Ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for a reward." End of this chapter. Chapter 102 Retreat. The ones in front are the 2 seniors, Duke Long and Mrs. Snake. Please be merciful, don't be as knowledgeable as these 2 children. Accompanied by this thick and anxious voice, a series of figures came rapidly from a distance. The leader is Fudo Ming Wang Zhaowuji. Behind him, followed by a group of schools of Shrek Academy, Daimyu Bei, Oscar and the other 6 are all missing. Because of the sharp whistling sound made by the man-faced demon spider before it died, they were able to determine their position, and they chased here directly by relying on Oscar's flying mushroom sausage. However, due to the non-stop in the middle, and the previous injury has not completely healed. So whether it's Fudo Ming Wang Zhao Waoqi or Daimyu Bei and Oscar, they all look tired. But as soon as they saw Tang San and Tang Ge, they showed relieved smiles on their faces, and immediately fell from the sky to Tang San's side. Seeing Teacher Zhao and his friends rushing over, Tang San also showed a smile on his face. Then he ate 2 or 3 recovery sausages made by Oscar, and the injuries that had been suppressed in his body immediately improved a lot. "I'm fine, thank you." Feeling the caring gazes from his classmates, Tang San said, moved in his heart. Hearing Tang San's words, Daimyu Bei couldn't help clenched his fist and lightly hit him on the heart. "Thank you, we are friends and partners, no matter who is in danger, we will not give up easily." "That's right, third brother, don't be so impulsive again." The same goes for Oscar. Tang San nodded. "Well, Tang Ge has told me before that Xiao Wu is not only fine, but also broke through to level. She should be able to come back and join us soon, Tang Ge." Hearing Tang San's words, Daimyu Bei and the others involuntarily raised their heads, and looked at the dazzling figure still floating in midair again. 1 purple, 3 black, 4 soul rings, a soul sect who is less than 13 years old. How changeable it is to be able to do this. Daimyu Bei, Oscar and Ma Hongjin couldn't help feeling envious and jealous. As for the 3 girls, Lin Yujin, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Xiuqing, their beautiful eyes were shining, and their eyes were full of admiration and joy when they looked at Tang Ge. But the six have one unique thing in common. That is, they have been shocked by Tang Ge's talent and cultivation far beyond their peers so many times that they have become numb and accustomed to it. Even though they hadn't seen each other for a few days, Tang Ge got a 10,000-year spirit ring from somewhere. Douluo Bei and the others felt it should be taken for granted. After all, Tang Ge has almost become the spokesperson of miracle. So looking at Tang Ge releasing 1 purple, 3 black and 4 colorful soul rings so coquettishly at this moment, Douluo Bei and the 6 people really have nothing to be shocked about. In the sky. Looking at Xiao Waoqi and a group of classmates who rushed over, why Tang Ge didn't take back the soul ring? Was it because he took the opportunity to harvest a wave of shock points? But he waited for a while, except for Xiao Waoqi's reaction, the others didn't even contribute a little shock value to him. Tang Ge was puzzled, so he couldn't help but look down. Then he noticed that there was envy, jealousy, love and admiration in the eyes of Douluo Bei, Oscar and the other 6 classmates. But just not the shock he needed. Moreover, Tang Ge also felt a flustered emotion from the eyes of these 6 people, and the name of this emotion was I am used to it. Come on, brothers and sisters. If you are used to it, how can I continue to improve my strength to shock you? Tang Ge was suddenly very depressed. But before he figured out how to save this unfavorable situation, Xiao Waoqi, whose neck was so sore from below, finally couldn't help but urge him. Tang Ge, quickly put away the soul ring on your body and drop it for me. Tang Ge's thoughts were interrupted. Seeing Xiao Wuji with a dark complexion, he smiled and then the yin-yang wings moved, and flew down with a swoosh. As soon as he got down, Lin Yuchen and the 3 daughters who had been waiting anxiously started chattering around him. Xiao Waoqi twisted his sore neck, looked away from Tang Ge, and looked at the 2 peerless dragons and snakes on the opposite side. I asked about the prestige of the 2 seniors, Mr. Long and Mrs. Snake. I didn't expect that Xiao Wuji would be able to meet the 2 seniors here today. It's a great honor, HMPH, stop talking nonsense, you are an imposing King Ming, and you are not an unknown person, you appear here now, but you want to hinder my husband and wife. Hearing Xiao Wuji's words, Duke Long frowned, smashed the dragon staff on the ground heavily in his hand, and said coldly. Seeing this, Xiao Wuji couldn't help feeling bitter. This Duke Long in front of him is a strong contra with 8 soul rings, not to mention that he has already used his soul avatar. His strength is 10-5, even in the period of complete victory, he is not the opponent's opponent. What's more, the Dragon Lord and Snake Lady are all here. If the 2 of them use the martial soul fusion skill, its power could rival that of a titled Douluo. What would his half-crippled Xiao Waoqi be? But after glancing at Tang San in the distance, Xiao Wuji's heart suddenly moved, and he lowered his voice slightly. Senior Longguang, can you take a step to speak? The reason why Duke Long was strong just now was entirely to keep his own face. But after all, he was ready to find a step for himself to go down, so seeing Xiao Waoqi suddenly acting mysteriously, he hesitated for a moment and then nodded. During the conversation between the 2, they all showed calm faces, and nothing could be seen. But after Duke Long returned to the original place, he directly said to Snake Woman and Meng Yiren, there is nothing to do here, let's go. After speaking, he turned around and walked away. After Meng Yiren came back to his senses, he showed unwillingness on his face and wanted to say something, but the Snake Woman reached out to rub her hair and sighed softly. Let's go, don't embarrass your grandpa. Meng still resisted the urge to cry, turned his head and took a deep look at Tang Ge who was surrounded by Lin Yuchen's 3 daughters in the distance, as if he wanted to remember the other party in his mind. Then she was chased by Mrs. Long with her little hand. At this time, Douluo Bei and the others also saw the 3 Longgang and Snake who had left. Among them Ma Hongjin couldn't help but said, Mr. Zhao, did they leave just like that? What? Do you still want to fight against a strong contra who is over 80? Hearing Ma Hongjin's words, Xiao Wuji shouted with a cold face. Then his eyes moved directly to Tang San, and then glanced at the purple 1,000-year-old spirit ring on the corpse of the man-faced demon spider not far away, frowning slightly. Tang San, the spirit ring of this man-faced demon spider may not be easy to absorb. Are you sure you want to choose it? I want to try it. Tang San's voice was unusually firm. End of this chapter. Chapter 103 Fusion, attached to the soul bone. Seeing that Tang San was determined, Xiao Wuji didn't want to persuade him much. He could only say to Oscar, Oscar, make another sausage for Tang San. Okay, Oscar nodded. Following the obscene spell I have a big sausage. A sausage appeared and immediately handed it to Tang San. Tang San didn't dislike it either, and ate the sausage directly. Feeling the rapidly recovering soul power in his body, he walked up to the corpse of the man-faced demon spider. At this time, the rich purple soul ring mixed with a little black on has already condensed and formed above the corpse of the man-faced demon spider, which is the best time to absorb it. Trouble, everyone. After turning around and talking to his companions, Tang San directly crossed his legs, summoned the blue silver grass and attracted the man-faced demon spider spirit ring, then concentrated on absorbing and merging it. Seeing that Tang San started to absorb the spirit ring, Zhao Wuji immediately waved his hand, letting everyone disperse and surround Tang San. As long as they don't fall, no one or spirit beast can affect Tang San. So taking advantage of this time, Zhao Wuji finally had the opportunity to ask Tang Ge about the time when the other party disappeared. Hearing Zhao Wuji's question, Tang Ge secretly laughed in his heart, and immediately brought out the same set of arguments he had just given to Ning Rongrong and the others. When he learned that the Titan giant ape with the king of the forest was frightened by a bull roar and left Tang Ge and Zhao Wu and ran away, Zhao Wuji was surprised and couldn't help feeling sorry for Tang Ge and Zhao Wu. Fortunately. Moreover, both of them were able to use this crisis to obtain their third and fourth spirit rings, which can be regarded as a blessing in disguise. Of course, if we add Oscar who has already broken through and Tang San who is absorbing the spirit ring, their Shrek Academy team in the Star Dao Forest has completely completed the mission satisfactorily. For a while, even as a level 76 soul sage, Zhao Wuji couldn't help feeling a sense of pride. He couldn't help showing a smile on his face and nodded. Since this is the case, I can rest assured, the next step is to wait for Zhao Wu to come back and Tang San to absorb the fusion soul smoothly. Mr. Zhao. Look at Tang San, what's wrong with him? Suddenly, an exclamation interrupted Zhao Wuji's words. The exclamation came from Ning Rongrong. At this moment she was staring wide-eyed, looking at Tang San who was absorbing the spirit ring. Her little face showed surprise and worry. Zhao Wuji and others' attention was attracted, and when they saw Tang San's state at the moment, they couldn't help being stunned. It turned out that in this short period of time, the dense purple-black light released by the man-faced demon spider's spirit ring had completely enveloped Tang San's body. A powerful surge of spirit power continuously released from Tang San. If only that's all. But the most important thing is that Tang San, who was merging the spirit ring at this time, seemed to have suffered intense torture. His pale face was full of pain. Immediately afterwards, he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Blood was sprayed on the ground, shocking Daimyo and the others. They had all absorbed spirit rings before, but this was the first time they encountered such a situation, and for a moment they couldn't help but cast their eyes on Zhao Wuji. Oscar was even more nervous and said, Mr. Zhao, what's wrong with third brother? Nothing will happen, right? Zhao Wuji felt a berserker constantly emanating from Tang San's fluctuating soul power, and his brows were tightened immediately. He said in a deep voice, if I'm not mistaken, the reason Tang San has this situation should be because the spirit ring of the man-faced demon spider is too domineering. If he wants to absorb and fuse it for his own use, it may not be easy. Soul ring is too domineering? Hearing Mr. Zhao's explanation, everyone's faces became more worried. Daimyo couldn't help but said, are we just watching like this? Can there be any way to help Tang San? I'm afraid it won't work. Now he can only rely on himself. He can't use any external force to absorb the spirit ring, otherwise it will only have the opposite effect. So now we can only believe that Tang San can insist on keeping it for his own use. Zhao Wuji shook his head and said. Tang Ge was standing next to him. Looking at Tang San's situation, he immediately understood that the other party had absorbed a soul ring that exceeded the maximum limit he could bear. In addition, the man-faced demon spider is ferocious and domineering, even more powerful than other soul beasts of the same cultivation level. So even though Tang San had cultivated Zuanshan Kung Fu and his physical fitness was far superior to other spirit masters, it was still not so easy for him to absorb the spirit ring of the man-faced demon spider. If it were someone else, he would have been blown to pieces by the violent power released by the spirit ring from the very beginning. But Tang Ge, who knew the original plot, naturally understood that absorbing the spirit ring this time was completely safe for Tang San. Even if no one intervenes, Tang San can survive successfully and gain great benefits. But Tang Ge came out suddenly, and said to Zhao Wuji with a smile under everyone's puzzled eyes. Mr. Zhao, the soul skill of my first spirit ring works on both the soul and body levels, and should be able to help Tang San. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard Tang Ge's words. Zhao Waoqi frowned, worried. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure, and if we really wait here, what if Xiao Sandu doesn't go back here to have a look? Tang Ge nodded, and then asked back. Zhao Wuji was silent. After a while, he said, since this is the case, you can try it, but if there is anything wrong, stop immediately. After getting the consent, Tang Ge didn't hesitate, and with a wave of his hand, a beam of milky white light fell on Tang San. Such a scene scared Daimyo Bei and the others involuntarily. But the results surprised everyone. With the launch of Tang Ge's first soul ability, Tang San's originally painful face really began to return to calm. Even the tyrannical aura emanating from him was affected and became docile. If these people could see Tang San's spiritual world, they would surely find that an incomparably huge man-faced demon spider was shrouded in a milky white beam of light, and instantly narrowed its eyes comfortably, no longer continuing to struggle. But no matter what, it was the first time that Daimyo Bei and the others knew that Tang Ge's first spirit ability could actually help people absorb powerful spirit rings that were difficult to fuse. For a moment, these people were shocked again. Even Zhao Waoqi seemed to think of something, and when he looked at Tang Ge again, there was a faint scorching light in his eyes. Ah, mock-up, I thought I couldn't cure you. As for Tang Ge, when he heard the system prompt that continued to ring in his mind, his originally depressed mood suddenly eased up a lot. That's it. As time went by, with the help of Tang Ge's milky white beams of light, Tang San, who had kept his eyes closed and merged with his spirit ring, suddenly let out an ah and stood up suddenly from the ground. Hearing a sound of tearing, his top was instantly shattered, and 8 spear-like spider legs quickly extended from his back. A spirit bone attached. 8 spider lances. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 104. I am enough alone. Tang San's sudden standing up shocked everyone. Especially after his jacket was broken, the 8 spider legs extending directly from his back left everyone stunned. And at this time, accompanied by the sound of hurried footsteps, a girl's voice full of surprise and suspicion suddenly came from behind. Third brother. After Daimyo Bei and the others came back to their senses, they turned their heads to look, only to find that Xiao Wu, who was taken away with Tang Ge, had also returned. Soon, Xiao Wu walked in front of everyone. She looked at Tang San with his jacket torn, and the 8 spider legs on his back, and couldn't help showing worry on his pretty face. But because Tang San still had his eyes closed at this moment, Xiao Wu didn't dare to go forward to disturb her. She could only look at Zhao Wuji, and asked, Mr. Zhao, what's wrong with the third brother? Why did this thing grow on his back, this? I looked at the thing behind Tang San. Why did it look like the legs of the man-faced demon spider? Tang San is not going to turn into a monster, right? Mo Hongjin seemed to have thought of something at this moment, and said in surprise. As a result, as soon as he said this, Daimyo Bei and Ning Rongrong glared at him directly. Xiao Wu said angrily, what nonsense are you talking about? Third brother won't become a monster. You talk too much. Don't talk to me from now on. Zhao Wuji also reprimanded Ma Hongjin. Then he shifted his eyes to Tang San again, saw the 8 spider-like things on the opponent's back that seemed to tremble slightly with the opponent's breathing, thought for a while and opened his mouth. Although I can't see what this thing is, it should be because Tang San has absorbed the spirit ring of the man-faced demon spider. He's about to wake up, just ask him when he wakes up. Ah, Xiao Wu nodded, her eyes full of concern never left Tang San's body. In this way, about half an hour passed. Tang San, who had kept his eyes closed all this time, finally opened them. When he saw Xiao Wu, who was close at hand, his confused expression froze for a moment, and then he became excited. Xiao Wu. Is it really you? Tang San wanted to run over to hug Xiao Wu, but he seemed to think of something again. He took a deep breath after he paused. As he was running Zuanshan Kung Fu, the 8 spider legs that originally appeared on his back began to shrink slowly. Soon, the 8 spider legs completely disappeared. But on Tang San's back there was no wound left. Such a surprising scene immediately opened everyone's eyes. Xiao Wu couldn't help but ran over on her own initiative. While studying Tang San's body, she asked curiously, Third brother, what was the thing just now, that you can actually put it away? Xiao Wu, it's nice to see you. In the end, Tang San hugged Xiao Wu suddenly, and said affectionately, Xiao Wu, I promise I will never let you have any accidents again. Well, Xiao Wu will never leave third brother in the future. Looking into Tang San's eyes, Xiao Wu also said seriously. In the back, when everyone heard the conversation between the two, goosebumps suddenly appeared on their bodies. But the eyes of Lin Yujin, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Ziuqing involuntarily moved to Tang Ge. When Tang Ge noticed it, he couldn't help shivering, and quickly shook his head. In any case, he would never say such a thing. So looking at the two who were still in ink and refused to separate, Tang Ge immediately interrupted. Enough is enough, you two, cuddling and hugging naked in public. Didn't you see that some people were bleeding all over the place? Hearing Tang Ge's words, everyone's eyes turned to Ma Hongjin involuntarily. Ma Hongjin was furious immediately, and said angrily, "What do you see me doing? Am I making fun of myself?" On the contrary, Oscar, who was beside him, turned his head in a panic, and hastily touched his mouth with his hand. But no matter what, after Tang Ge's interruption, Xiao Wu immediately blushed and broke away from Tang San's embrace. And Tang San took the opportunity to take out a piece of clothing from the moonlit night at the 24th bridge, and put it on. Then he looked at Tang Ge and said gratefully, "Thank you, Tang Ge. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have absorbed the man-faced demon spider's soul ring so easily." Obviously, Tang San was still aware of the external situation when he was fighting against a brutal consciousness left in the man-faced demon spider's spirit ring. It was also because of Tang Ge's help that he not only successfully absorbed the soul ring of the man-faced demon spider, but also he had a preliminary grasp of the 8 spider legs behind him. It is proof that he was brought back into his body through Zuanshan Kun just now. Hearing Tang San's thanks, Tang Ge smiled and shook his head. "Although I helped you successfully absorb the spirit ring, the extra spirit bone attached behind you needs to be familiarized with and controlled by yourself." Attached spirit bone? It was the first time everyone heard this name, and they didn't understand what it meant. Zhao Wuji couldn't help asking, "Tang Ge, do you know what the thing on Tang San's body is?" "That is a kind of spirit bone that can only be produced by very few spirit beasts, and its function is similar to that of a spirit ring, while Tang San's body is an external spirit bone that is more precious than spirit bones," Tang Ge said with a smile. When he said this, he was also extremely emotional. One must know that he had killed a 1,000-year soul beast and a 10,000-year soul beast, but he didn't even see half a soul bone. And what about Tang San? As soon as he killed a man-faced demon spider, he obtained the external spirit bone, which was extremely rare among the spirit bones. This is the treatment of the children of the world. Fortunately, Tang Ge is not worried about this, because he is a son of the wall who is more powerful than the son of the world. When other people heard Tang Ge's words, they were also extremely envious. And Ning Rongrong's beautiful eyes sparkled with little stars, and she couldn't help saying, "Tang Ge, you know a lot. You will learn as much as I do in the future." Tang Ge rolled his eyes, and after replying to Ning Rongrong, he looked at Tang San. "As for the others, everything will be clear when you go back and ask the master." Tang San nodded. At this time, Zhao Wuji said, "Tang San, since you have integrated a third spirit ring, what have you gained?" Tang San was about to answer, when a rustling sound of leaves suddenly came. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw that a large number of man-faced spiders that were several sizes smaller than the one that was killed before came out of the woods one after another. As soon as these man-faced spiders appeared, they surrounded Zhao Wuji and the others. "Everyone be careful." Zhao Wuqi's face was solemn, and he couldn't help but remind him. With a thought in Tang San's mind, he wanted to take this opportunity to show off the hidden weapon he made himself, and the power of the soul skill of the third spirit ring he just obtained. Just a pity. Tang Ge didn't give Tang San a chance to show it off, and he, who had been on guard for a long time, suddenly smiled when he saw the swarm of man-faced demon spiders appearing. Mr. Zhao, you don't need to act, just protect Tang San and the others. As for these man-faced spiders, I am enough. It will be on the shelves tomorrow. So this is the last free chapter. I hope that handsome men and beauties who have book coins in their hands can support it and give a subscription. So tomorrow's update rules are as follows: guaranteed minimum 5 shifts. If you can book more than, add 1 more. If more than, add 2 shifts. No cap. Reward, book coins, plus 1 change. Reward, book coins plus 1 change. There is no cap. Ask for support. Thanks. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 105. The person who even the master can't see through. Please subscribe. Tang San was already prepared taking advantage of this opportunity to display his ability well. As a result, he didn't expect Tang Ge to speak suddenly at this time, but the momentum he had accumulated was suddenly interrupted, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. But Tang San couldn't blame Tang Ge, because the other party was indeed thinking of them, so even though he was depressed, he could only retreat obediently. As for the others, out of trust in Tang Ge, coupled with the confident smile on Tang Ge's face, their hearts were also at ease. Zhao Waoqi showed anticipation and nodded. Since that's the case, I'll leave these man-faced demon spiders to you. Next, let us see the power of your fourth 10,000-year spirit ring. After speaking, he beckoned, letting Tang San, Daimyo Bei and others gather beside him. Tang Ge stayed where he was, looking at a large number of human-faced spiders who were slowly approaching, and the aura of the soul sex cultivation was instantly released by him. Immediately after the Wuhan yin-yang life and death picture appeared, 1 purple, 3 black and 4 soul rings also rose from Tang Ge's feet, and danced around his body. The nearly completely black dazzling light spread to the surroundings, and the oppression sex aura contained in it immediately made all the man-faced demon spiders become restless hiss. Finally, these human-faced demon spiders finally gave up on the test, and immediately attacked Tang Ge, Daimyo Bei and the others after making a piercing low chirp. It's densely packed, and it looks scary. Seeing this, Tang Ge didn't panic. A yin-yang formation slowly emerged from under his feet. Immediately afterwards, under the consumption of the surging soul power, yin-yang swords with a length of several feet were quickly condensed into nearly 100 swords in the blink of an eye. The dense yin and yang swords gathered in front of him, which is really extraordinary. Zhao Wuji and the others couldn't help being startled when they saw it. Just as they were thinking about what Tang Ge's fourth soul skill was, a low voice suddenly came from the other party's mouth. Tai Chi sword array. Thousands of swords are fired, hum. At this moment, the void trembled slightly, and then the 100 yin-yang swords changed from static to dynamic, and instantly turned into black and white after images and flew out puff puff, puff puff. Accompanied by the ear-piercing sound of air explosions, with Tang Ge as the center, a radius of more than 10 meters was instantly enveloped by a sword field formed by hundreds of yin-yang swords. In this sword realm, terrifying sword energy was continuously released, and all the man-faced spiders that rushed into it were torn to pieces without even holding on for a moment. Zhao Wuji and the others stood in the center of the sword field, looked at the yin-yang swords flying past rapidly, and the killed man-faced spiders. They all gasped. Good, a terrifying soul skill. They even wondered, if they were targeted, would they be able to block so many flying sword attacks, soon? The swarm of human-faced demon spiders that had caused Zhao Wuji and others a headache all died under Tang Ge's Tai Chi sword array. Moreover, he even formed 100 yin-yang swords into a spiral shape. Wherever he passed, the corpses of the remaining human-faced demon spiders were crushed and turned into nutrients and sprinkled on the ground. Immediately afterwards, the spiral sword formation swept the ground again, and the ground was turned over in an instant. So when Tang Ge dispersed the Tai Chi sword formation and put away his martial soul and soul ring, not only was there no flesh and blood on the blood-stained ground, but it became loose and weak and filled with the smell of soil. Seeing his masterpiece, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Immediately looking at Zhao Waoqi and the others who were in a daze, Tang Ge shrugged his shoulders, pretending to be bored and said, "Look, there are only a few cuties, and the problem will be solved after a few strikes." Hearing Tang Ge's words, everyone was speechless for a while after recovering. As for those hideous and terrifying man-faced spiders, only Tang Ge would regard them as cuties, the kind of cuties who can solve problems with just a few strikes. But no matter what, the crisis of the man-faced demon spider was finally resolved. And after witnessing the large-scale terrifying lethality of Tang Ge's fourth spirit ring spirit ability, Tang San, Daimyo Bei and the others realized it one after another. In front of real geniuses, I am not strong enough, I still need to work hard. So at this moment, everyone couldn't help but want to return to Shrek Academy immediately, and then accept the new training task arranged by the dean. It seems to have sensed the thoughts of the students. After Zhao Waoqi took a deep breath to calm himself down, he immediately spoke. Since the 4 of them, Oscar and Tang San, have obtained their own spirit rings, then this time the Star Dao Forest trial mission is over. Oscar, help everyone make a mushroom sausage, we will return to the academy as quickly as possible, and then everyone will have a good rest. Okay, come out, I want to be a mushroom sausage. Hearing Zhao Waoqi's arrangement, Oscar immediately used his soul power to make 10 mushroom sausages, which almost exhausted the soul power in his body at once. Immediately after his soul power recovered a bit, everyone swallowed the mushroom sausage one after another, and 3 pairs of transparent wings extended directly behind him. Tang Ge wanted to experience the power of mushroom sausage flight, so he also took one. Go! With the flapping of the transparent wings, Xiao Waoqi took the lead in flying into the sky, and flew towards the outside of the Star Dao forest. Tang San and the others looked at each other, relaxed smiles appeared on their faces, then they got up off the ground and followed Zhao Wuji closely. Outside Soto City, Shrek Academy. There is an extraordinarily high 2-story attic at the back of the academy. Standing on the second floor of the attic, one can almost have a panoramic view of the entire Shrek Academy. This is where Dean Flender lives. However, in the living room on the first floor today, besides Flender, the master Yu Zhigang, who was supposed to stay in Notting City, was sitting opposite the table. As the former Golden Iron Triangle, when old friends meet, both of them are in a good mood. Flender took a sip of tea, couldn't help smiling and said, "With you joining Shrek Academy, the pressure on me will be much easier. Don't think too much, I'm here mainly for the child Tang San." Hearing Flender's words, Yu Zhigang said calmly. Knowing that his old friend was stubborn, Flender didn't argue, but asked curiously, "What about Tang Ge? What do you think of this kid, Tang Ge?" Although he already knew that this kid also joined Shrek Academy, but now recalling what Flender wrote in his reply letter, Yu Zhigang still couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. 12 years old. 1 purple and 2 black, level 39 Soul Master. He never expected that after only 5 years of seeing each other, the other party had grown to a level that even he could hardly imagine. For a moment, Yu Zhigang couldn't help shaking his head bitterly. To be honest, even I can't see Tang Ge through him. It's finally on the shelves. All beauties and handsome guys, please subscribe. End of this chapter. Chapter 106. I like seeing you shocked. Seeing Yu Zhigang's rare expression of bitterness, Flender couldn't help being surprised, and couldn't help laughing and said, "If you could see through it, you wouldn't have taken him as a disciple back then, brothers. People are tough." Hearing Flender's ridicule, Yu Zhigang's face twitched. And can he say that it wasn't that he didn't accept Tang Ge as an apprentice, but that the other party looked down on him as a master when he was only 6 years old? Of course. If Yu Zhigang thought that God could give him another chance, he would definitely let Tang Ge be his apprentice. At the age of 12, he became a 39th level soul master with 1 purple and 2 black soul rings, and his future is boundless. If nothing happens, Tang Ge will definitely have a place in the future title Douluo on the Douluo Continent. At that time, as the teacher of title Douluo, Yu Zhigang will also make all his theories about Wuhan recognized by the world. It's a pity that if you miss it, you will miss it, and it's useless to regret it. Yu Zhigang could only sigh helplessly. Flender could tell that his old brother was in a very depressed mood, so he comforted him after laughing. "No matter what, after you accept the training job, you can be regarded as the teacher of that little guy Tang Ge. Forget it, don't mention Tang Ge. When I came, I heard you said in the letter that because of Tang San, Zhao Wuji from your academy was beaten up." Yu Zhigang shook his head, took the initiative to change the subject, and asked about Xiao Waoqi being beaten. Hearing Yu Zhigang's question, Flender's expression was a little unnatural. Because at that time, for some reasons, he and Xiao Waoqi received the same treatment, but it was a bad thing after all, so it was not mentioned in the letter. After quickly concealing the unnaturalness on his face, Flender nodded. "Well, he was beaten by a title Douluo." Title Douluo? Yu Zhigang didn't notice the change in Flender's expression, thought for a while, and then suddenly took out a warrant from his pocket. While throwing the warrant to Flender, he said, "I think I know who it is." Flender was still puzzled. But when he received the warrant, he saw the Wuhan pattern and the hammer pattern on it representing the 6 most powerful title Douluo in the mainland. His body trembled suddenly, and a look of shock appeared on his face. This is, do you think that Xiaozin's martial spirit is really just blue silver grass?" Seeing Flender's shocked expression, Yu Zhigang said calmly. With the help of Oscar Mushroom Sausage, Zhao Wuji took Tang San and Tang Ge to fly all the way, and soon they left the Star Forest. But after all, after tossing and tossing in the starred out Great Forest for a long time, everyone was very tired, and Oscar's spirit power had not fully recovered. So Zhao Waoqi decided to let everyone stay in the town outside the forest and rest for another night. Then this sleep went straight to the next afternoon. After Zhao Wuji woke up Tang San and the others, he set off again without even eating. After nearly an hour, he finally returned to Shrek Academy after a long absence. As soon as they arrived at the gate of the academy, everyone's exhaustion was swept away and they became very excited. Finally back, Oscar was even more excited and hugged a big tree next to him and kissed. Zhao Wuji stepped forward, with a rare smile on his majestic face. He said, "After such a long journey, everyone has worked hard, let's all go back and rest first." After speaking, he walked into the academy first, and his figure gradually disappeared. "I'm hungry, let's go and eat." Seeing Zhao Wuji leave, Ma Hongjin immediately said impatiently. But at this moment, Tang Ge suddenly thought of the system prompt that inexplicably appeared in his mind last night. His expression was a little strange, and a wonderful idea came to his mind. So Tang Ge looked at Tang San, who was not far away, with a smile, and said, "Little San, if you have time, let's go see the dean. Maybe the dean can know more about the spirit bone attached to your body." It is good. Originally Tang San wanted to accompany Xiao Wu to dinner, but upon hearing Tang Ge's words, he immediately nodded in agreement. Besides, Xiao Wu also wanted to go. But Tang Ge looked at her and Daimyo Bei and the others with a smile, and said, "You guys go to eat first. Xiao-san and I will look for you after we meet the principal." Hearing Tang Ge's words, everyone naturally had no objection. Even Xiao Wu, who was not happy, had a deep-seated fear of Tang Ge because of what happened in the starred-out Great Forest, so she nodded honestly. "Third brother, Brother Tang Ge, come back soon." "Well, it won't take too long." Looking at Xiao Wu, Tang San smiled softly and nodded. It's just that Xiao Wu called Tang Ge more affectionately than calling him by his name, which made him feel very uncomfortable. He thought to himself that he had to let Xiao Wu call himself Brother Tang San in the future. Immediately, after Daimyo Bei took Oscar and 6 people to dinner, Tang San and Tang Ge also walked towards the courtyard where Flender lived. Yard residence, on the balcony on the 2nd floor. Zhao Wuqi, who had left early, arrived here at some point, and was sitting on a chair drinking tea with Flender and Yu Xia Gang, while talking about the experience of the Stardao Forest and his party. He had just finished talking about the Titan Giant Ape, and he also knew from Yu Xia Gang that the bull roar mentioned by Tang Ge and Xiao Wu was actually made by the Azure Bull Python living in the central area of the Stardao Great Forest. And the Azure Bull Python is not only an emperor-like soul beast with over 10 years of cultivation, it can even speak. This refreshed Xiao Wuqi's cognition, and his heart was full of shock. But just when he was about to continue talking about the next thing, a voice full of surprises suddenly came up from the attic. "Teacher, is that you?" Zhao Wuji turned his head to look downstairs, and immediately saw Tang San and Tang Ge, who were standing below at the moment. At this moment, Tang San focused all his attention on Yu Xia Gang, his face full of surprises. He didn't expect to see his teacher here. Yu Xia Gang got up, stood up, and jumped directly from the attic. He walked in front of Tang San, stretched out his hand and pinched Tang San's shoulder, and said with a gratified smile, "I haven't seen you for a while, and I've grown stronger again, teacher. I'm a soul master now." Seeing his elders, Tang San was eager to show his improvement, so he released 2 yellow and 1 purple 3 spirit rings without hesitation. There is no doubt that Soul Venerable is cultivated. Yu Xia Gang didn't expect this, so he couldn't help being stunned for a moment, and then laughed out of joy. "Okay. Very good. Xia-san, you really didn't disappoint me." Tang Ge was on the side. Seeing Tang San's big moves as soon as they met, he couldn't help curling his lips. Then he did not hesitate to use his trick directly. When the purple, 3 black and 4 dazzling soul rings rose up, not only Flender, who was still on the 2nd floor, was so startled that he almost crushed his teacup. Yu Xia Gang's laughter stopped abruptly. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Flender, and got, shock points." "Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Yu Xia Gang, and gained 1,000 shock points." Hearing the system prompt in his mind, and seeing Yu Xia Gang's shocked face, Tang Ge's mouth curled up slightly, and he smiled smugly. "Master, do you know? I just like to see how you are shocked, eh?" Tang Ge, have a thick face and want a recommendation ticket. Make money now, otherwise, you will be disabled. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 107. I admit it, I review, the 3rd update. Please subscribe. Master, do you know? I just like to see how you are shocked. Seeing Flender's shocked expression, Tang Ge couldn't help saying proudly. He didn't speak loudly, but all the soul masters present could hear them clearly. As a result, Xiao Waoqi, who was originally sitting on the second floor of the attic and looked very calm, couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of tea. Accompanied by the sound of click, the teacup in Flanders' hand was finally crushed by him. But whether it was Xiao Waoqi or Flanders, looking at Tang Ge downstairs, they were extremely speechless. Does this little guy have a deep hatred with the master? Even Tang San, who just released the spirit ring and wanted to show it in front of the teacher, suddenly regretted it at this moment. He never expected that Tang Ge would release the soul ring with him, let alone that the other party would say such a thing. Even Tang San suspected that Tang Ge asked him to accompany him to find the dean. Was it because he had already guessed that the teacher was here? Thinking this way, looking at the teacher again, Tang San's eyes were filled with apology when he sensed the teacher's slightly twitching face. After a while, Yu Zaigang finally came back to his senses. Resisting the urge to beat someone up, he looked at Tang Ge, who was dancing with 1 purple, 3 black and 4 soul rings, and forced a smile. Well, I really didn't expect that after 5 years of absence, Tang Ge, you have grown to such a degree. Even if you are among your peers, I am afraid that no one can surpass you. Thank you for your compliment, Master. If I have nothing else to do, then I'll be leaving first. Goodbye, Dean. Goodbye, Mr. Zhao. Hearing Yu Zaigang's words, Tang Ge suddenly smiled. Immediately after putting away the spirit ring on his body, he said goodbye to Flender and Xiao Waoqi, then turned and left without hesitation. The goal has been achieved, and staying here is a waste of time. After all, isn't it delicious to eat with a few beautiful little sisters? As for Tang San, he was ruthlessly abandoned by Tang Ge. So seeing Tang Ge leave without looking back, Tang San's mood suddenly became extremely complicated. I was indeed taken advantage of. Seemingly aware of Tang San's mood, Yu Zaigang couldn't help but raised his hand and patted him on the shoulder, speaking to comfort him. Little San, don't be discouraged. Tang Ge has his opportunities, others can't compare. Moreover, in the history of the mainland, there might not be a monstrous existence like Tang Ge in thousands of years. Most soul master talents are actually the same as yours. What's more, if you can cultivate the Wuhan blue silver grass to the soul master level at this age, you are already much better than most people. Teacher, are you comforting me? Why do I feel that the more I listen, the more uncomfortable I feel? Tang San's heart was extremely complicated. But on the surface he nodded seriously. Well, teacher, don't worry, Xiaism will definitely work harder and never let you down. That's right. As my student, you should have the determination to persevere and become more courageous. Hearing Tang San's words, Yu Zaigang was instantly satisfied. But then he asked again, by the way, you just came back from the starred-out Great Forest. Why did you come here without taking a rest, teacher? I came here to ask the dean about the external spirit bone, Tang San said. Attached spirit bone? Hearing Tang San's words, Yu Zaigang frowned, and said, Little San, where did you hear this name? Tang Ge said it, and teacher, do you think this thing on my body is an external spirit bone? As Tang San said, he operated Zuanshan Kung Fu to concentrate the spirit ring on his back. Accompanied by the sound of tearing the clothes shattering, on his back, the 8 spider legs that were originally retracted from the body stretched out again. The sharp spear-like spider legs swayed in the sunlight, reflecting a cold and dark light. It turned out to be an external spirit bone, and it also appeared on Tang San's body. Seeing Tang San's changes at this moment, although Yu Zaigang was not as shocked as when he saw Tang Ge's 1 purple and 3 black spirit rings before, he was still extremely surprised. He couldn't help urging, quick, tell me about your experience in the Stardao Forest. At this time, Flender and Xiao Waoqi also came down from upstairs and appeared in front of them. They are very interested in the attached spirit bones. Hearing the teacher's urging, Tang San didn't hide anything, and immediately told his experience. Others are easy to talk about, but when he knew about Tang San's impulsive behavior and absorbed the spirit ring of the man-faced demon spider, Yu Zaigang's complexion instantly became serious. Little San, do you know? You have one of the biggest shortcomings, that is, you are too emotional. It's okay to be emotional, and that's fine, but what you don't want is to lose your mind during critical times. Don't you think you can save Xiao Wu, who was taken away on impulse? What if Xiao Wu is fine, but you lose your life because of it? In addition, Your act of absorbing the spirit ring of the man-faced demon spider is too reckless. That is simply not a spirit ring that you can bear at this stage. Next, Yu Zhigang immediately scolded Tang San severely. Tang San also knew he was wrong, so he didn't say anything. After a while, Yu Zhiao just stopped. Immediately, a smile appeared on his serious face, and he said, "But no matter what, it's because of your own hard work that you can gain this time. That's enough, let's go back and rest first, and try not to mention the matter of your external spirit bone to outsiders again. Remember what I said?" "Well, teacher, I made a note." Tang San nodded seriously. Immediately after he said goodbye to the dean and Mr. Zhao, he turned and left. As soon as the people left, Flender, who had been silent for a long time, smiled and said, "You can be satisfied if you can accept such a sensible and motivated student. I'm quite content, but since you invited me here, you can't cheat me like this." Thinking of his embarrassment when he was shocked by Tang Ge's soul ring just now, Yu Zhigang looked at Flender suddenly full of resentment. Flender was a little puzzled, and said, "Where did I cheat you? The Tang Ge you wrote in your letter is level 39, what happened? The soul sect is over level, and there is an extra 10,000-year soul ring. Do you know that what that little guy Tang Ge said just now almost made me vomit blood?" When he said this, Yu Zhigang felt as if a big stone was blocked in his heart, and he was so depressed that he was dying. When Flender heard this, he suddenly realized. But he said righteously, "You can't blame me for this matter. When I wrote back to you before, Tang Ge was indeed only level 39. As for now, then you have to ask Zhao Wuji, he didn't say it earlier. If you want to blame it, you should blame him." Flender shrugged and pointed to Zhao Wuji next to him. When Zhao Wuji heard it, he was speechless immediately. "Why are you blaming me?" But facing Yu Zhigang's gaze, Zhao Wuji immediately spoke sincerely. "Master, don't say anything, it's my fault, I admit it, I criticize it. Now I will punish myself by running 100 laps around the village." After speaking, he turned and ran away without hesitation. In the same place, only Yu Zhigang and Flender were left, staring at each other for a long time without speaking. The third update, please subscribe, ask for a reward, end of this chapter. Period. Chapter 182 Excellent is not good. Fourth update, the next day, early in the morning. In Shrek Academy, Daimyo Bei and Tang San, who rested comfortably all night, had breakfast, and were summoned to the academy playground by the bell again. Because they experienced a life-and-death difficult trial in the starred-out Great Forest, the relationship between Daimyo Bei and the 9 of them became closer than before. Even Oscar dared to make fun of the little princess Ning Rongrong. But a pity. Except for Xiao Wu, who was like glue with Tang San, both Ning Rongrong and Lin Yuchen were surrounded by Tang Ge. Even Zhu Xiuqing, who had always been independent and looked extremely cold, would talk to Tang Ge from time to time in the name of discussing soul skills. Tang Ge originally wanted to take care of the mood of Daimyo Bei and the other 3 who were standing alone and eating dog food, who were not popular with women. But helplessly, his charm is too great, even Xiao Wu calls him Brother Tang, and even wants to push away Ning Rongrong and the 3 girls but can't push him away. Tang Ge simply gave up his efforts and continued to let Daimyo Bei and the 3 men continue to eat dog food. Fortunately, the days of suffering did not last too long. When Ding Flender and Yu Zhigang came to the big playground together, the 9 people who gathered together dispersed one after another. Daimyo Bei, Oscar, and Ma Hongjin, whose hearts were about to collapse, finally breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately, their attention was focused on the unfamiliar Yu Zhigang. Who is this person? Could it be that the new teacher hired by the academy failed? But because Xiao Wu was with Tang San yesterday, she was not surprised by Yu Zhigang's arrival. When everyone was thinking wildly, Flender finally spoke. He glanced at the 9 colleges in front of him, and said with a smile, "I'm glad that in this trial course of the starred-out Great Forest, all 9 of your students can safely complete the task and return to the college. And among them, congratulations to Oscar, Tang San and Xiao Wu for successfully finding a suitable spirit ring, and becoming the new 3 soul masters after Daimyo Bei and Lin Yuchen among the students. Therefore, the 3 of you, Ma Hongjin, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Xiuqing, must continue to work hard, and strive to break through to Soul Lord as soon as possible." "Well, we will work hard." Hearing Flender's words, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Xiuqing looked at each other and nodded firmly. Ma Hongjin lowered his head in embarrassment. Flender ignored him, and turned his gaze back to Tang Ge. He continued, "Of course, I want to emphasize Tang Ge's praise. Not only did he break through to the soul sect, but he was also unflappable in the face of a strong man far beyond his own strength, and he never gave up on his teammates. This kind of spirit should be promoted in our Shrek Academy. Everyone should study hard. Come on, give Tang Ge a round of applause." Clap clap clap. With Dean Flender personally taking the lead, Daimyo Bei and Tang San immediately applauded. Feeling the warm welcome from everyone, Tang Ge waved his hand very modestly. It's fine for the students to express their opinions. I, Tang Ge, like to keep a low profile. Just you? Prefer to keep a low profile? As soon as these words came out, not to mention Daimyo Bei and the others almost couldn't hold back their rebuttals. Even Yu Zhigang, who had been silent behind him, twitched fiercely. He didn't expect that after 5 years of absence, Tang Ge's cultivation was not only good, but his face was also thicker than before. So without waiting for Flender to continue speaking at this moment, Yu Zhigang took the initiative to take a few steps forward. He first asked everyone to stop applauding, and then said lightly, "As you all think, I am the new teacher invited by your dean, and I will be mainly responsible for your next training courses. My name is Yu Zhigang. Maybe this name is unfamiliar to you, but you should have heard of the title Master." "What? He is the master who put forward the 10 core laws of the martial soul world?" As soon as Yu Zhigang said this, everyone was shocked. On the side, Xiao Wu said proudly, "Not only that, the master is also the teacher of the third brother. Teacher, with your personal teaching, I believe that the strength of me and my classmates can be improved by leaps and bounds." Tang San walked out of the team, came to Yu Zhigang, and said seriously. Yu Zhigang patted Tang San's shoulder, and nodded in relief. And after Daimyo Bei and the others knew that Tang San's teacher was actually a master, they all suddenly realized. No wonder Tang San knew so much in the starred-out Great Forest. It turned out to be like this. For a while, Daimyo Bei and the others were also full of anticipation for the next training session. "Since you all know the master, I will leave this place to you, and come to me if you have anything to do." After speaking, Flender turned and left. Yu Zhigang withdrew his gaze swept over Daimyo Bei, Oscar and others one by one, corresponding to the information he had read before. Then he spoke again in a deep voice, "Your formal training will start tomorrow morning, but today, I need to learn about your respective types of martial arts and soul rings and soul skills. So I give you a task, no matter how you cooperate and how you use your soul skills, join hands with me to attack Tang Ge with all your strength. As long as you can defeat him, tomorrow's breakfast will be prepared by me personally for you. Little San, don't use those hidden weapons of yours. This kind of thing should be reserved for your enemies." His teacher, hearing Yu Zhigang's words, Tang San nodded. Then he looked at Tang Ge, his eyes filled with fighting intent. But Oscar let out a howl. "Master, I'm just an auxiliary soul master of the food system. Do I also want to participate in the battle? And me? Tang Ge's fourth soul ability is too terrifying. He will leave a lot of holes in my body." As if thinking of some terrible scene, Ning Rongrong couldn't help shivering, and looked at Yu Zhigang pitifully. Even the pupils of Daimyo Bei and Ma Hongjin shrank, their expressions extremely serious. Aware of this situation, Yu Zhigang, who wanted to reprimand the Oscars, couldn't help but frown. Immediately he looked at Tang Ge and said, "Let me see your fourth soul skill. What's so scary about it?" "No problem." Tang Ge smiled slightly, and the martial soul and 4 soul rings were summoned successively. When the Taiji sword array finally appeared under his feet, with a surge of soul power input into it, 200 yin-yang swords were condensed in an instant hum. The void trembled, and under Tang Ge's deliberate actions, the 200 yin-yang swords appeared in front of Yu Zhigang in unison. Numerous sharp yin-yang swords pointed at Yu Zhigang, scaring Yu Zhigang's body tense involuntarily. For a moment, he even had the urge to turn his head and run away. But thinking that this place is in Shrek Academy, Yu Zhigang still tried his best to calm down his trembling heart. He looked at Tang Ge with a smile on his face, gritted his teeth and forced out a word. "In the next duel, you are not allowed to use the 4th spirit ring's spirit ability. Hey, it's not good to be too good." Hearing Yu Zhigang's words, Tang Ge sighed helplessly. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Period. Chapter 109 1 verses 8 is also true. Hey. It's not good to be too good. If this is the case, don't use it if you don't use it. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Tang Ge sighed helplessly. With a wave of his hand, the yin-yang sword was scattered, and the Tai Chi sword array disappeared under his feet. Yu Xiaogang immediately retreated more than 10 meters away, far away from Tang Ge. And Dai Mu Bei and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. Without the threat of the Tai Chi sword array, their self-confidence suddenly increased, and they felt that even the Soul King could be bullied by the 8 of them, let alone a mere soul sect. So Ma Hongjin couldn't help but said wildly, "Boss Tang, just wait for a while to be beaten and cried by us. Hey. You're quite arrogant. If that's the case, I'll let you be a bald-haired little chicken later on, Brother Tang." Tang Ge raised his eyebrows. Immediately he said directly to Yu Xiaogang, "Master, can we start now? The enemy will not discuss the start time with you." Yu Xiaogang spoke flatly. As soon as these words came out, Tang San, who had been deeply taught by Yu Xiaogang, instantly aroused 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, and the blue-silver grass emerged from his palm and quickly turned into slender vines. Twist, accompanied by a low shout, the blue-silver grass vines that became tougher after fusing with the man-faced spider's soul ring entangled directly towards Tang Ge. Tang Ge reacted quickly, but after taking a look at these blue-silver grass vines, he didn't bother to avoid them. Just a group of kindergarten kids. He felt that after all these children had shot, he would explode and defeat them all in one fell swoop, so that the other party could understand that the gap between people cannot be made up with just one soul ring. And when Tang San saw that Tang Ge didn't even evade, his complexion suddenly sank. He couldn't help snorting, "Arrogance. Ningrong, help us all increase our soul skills." 7 treasures are turned out of colored glaze. The 7 treasures are famous. One is called Strength, the other is called Speed. After hearing Tang San's reminder, Ningrong, who had just come to his senses, immediately summoned the Wuhan 7 treasures glazed pagoda, and the pagoda's body spun, releasing streaks of colored light. These rays of light fell on Tang San and Dai Mu Bei, directly making their strength and speed significantly improved. Seizing the opportunity, Tang San clenched his fist without hesitation. Then the blue-silver grass vines summoned by him quickly spread to Tang Ge's body, instantly wrapping Tang Ge into a rice dumpling. Immediately afterwards, these vines slowly shrunk inward, as if they were going to strangle Tang Ge completely. Brother Tang Ge, seeing this scene, Lin Yuchen couldn't help showing worry on her pretty face, and wanted to help. But Zhu Xiuqing beside her shook his head at her. "Sister Yuchen, you have to trust Tang Ge, he will be fine." "Ha ha ha, Boss Tang Ge, I recently discovered that the phoenix line of fire sent out in the state of a phoenix on fire is more powerful, so you have to be careful." At this time, Mo Hongjin couldn't help laughing out loud. Taking advantage of Tang Ge being wrapped comfortably by Tang San's blue-silver grass, the martial spirit phoenix behind him enveloped him as soon as he appeared, and immediately a large amount of flames were spit out from his mouth. These flames turned into a line of fire and rushed towards Tang Ge directly. Crackling. Crackling. Accompanied by the sound of plants being burned, Tang Ge, who was shrouded in blue-silver grass vines, turned into a burning man in the blink of an eye. Ningrong, who had just cast her martial soul-boosting soul skill, was taken aback by this situation. "Tang San, Tang Ge will be fine, right?" Hearing Ningrong's words, although Tang San felt that Tang Ge would not be defeated so easily, but after thinking about it, he still explained to Oscar, who is the object of protection. "Oscar, you are ready to make sausages at any time, once Tang Ge, boom." As a result, before Tang San could finish speaking, a crackling sound accompanied by firelight immediately attracted his and the others' attention. 7 or 8 meters away, Tang Ge was walking out of the flames with a smile on his face. Just now, whether it was the paralyzing toxin of the blue-silver grass or the burning of the phoenix fire wire, not only did it not cause any damage to him, even the clothes on his body were intact. Black and white intertwined soul power circulated around Tang Ge, looking mysterious and unpredictable. Even the master who watched the battle from a distance couldn't help being secretly surprised. This little guy, who hasn't seen him for 5 years, has become so powerful? But soon, a loud shout interrupted his train of thought. White Tiger Possession. White Tiger Light Wave, White Tiger King Kong Transformation. It was Douluo who activated his second and third soul skills of his martial soul without hesitation when he saw Tang Ge walking out of the sea of flames intact. A glaring golden light burst out from Douluo's mouth immediately, rushing towards Tang Ge exuding a powerful aura. Douluo followed closely behind, with a ferocious white tiger martial spirit behind him fiercely. But the result? Facing the flying golden light ball, Tang Ge just raised his hand and patted lightly puff. Accompanied by the sound of bubbles shattering, this golden light group was instantly patted by Tang Ge and turned into little golden light, which quickly dispersed, and finally only lifted a corner of Tang Ge's clothes slightly. Douluo, who rushed over just now, saw this scene, his pupils constricted suddenly in fright. Muz. Breaking my white tiger-like longbow with bare hands without using soul power, is this something people do? After cursing secretly in his heart, he switched from offense to defense without hesitation, using his first defensive soul skill White Tiger Body Barrier. Give up, it's useless. Seeing the golden shield emerging from Douluo's body, Tang Ge couldn't help but shook his head with a smile. Immediately he took another step forward, pushed out with a palm, released a surging power, and a scream of awe suddenly came out of Douluo's mouth. Call out. Immediately afterwards, Douluo turned into golden afterimage and flew out backwards. In the end, if Tang San hadn't been caught by Tang San wrapping himself around his body with blue-silver grass, he probably would have flown out of Shrek Academy right now. And Zhu, who also attacked Tang Ge after merging the martial soul ghost civet, was also taken aback, and forcibly stopped the body that was rushing towards him, and was suspended in midair. But because of this, the soul power in her body became disordered for a while, and the whole person fell towards the ground uncontrollably. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge, who had just knocked Douluo into the air, shook his head slightly and immediately cast his yin-yang wings. Soaring into the air, he immediately hugged Zhu in his arms. At the same time, he turned his head to look at Lin Yuchen, who had just drawn his longbow to shoot himself not far below, and raised his right hand as if to hit someone. Lin Yuchen's pretty face flushed, and she quickly put down the longbow. You let me go. At this time, Zhu's slightly shy and angry whisper suddenly came from Tang Ge's ear. He turned his head and saw that the shaking mountain peak was so close that he couldn't help but shudder, and he slapped the opponent's p with the right hand he just raised. With a sound of pa, Zhu's instantly became quiet. Don't make trouble, I'll let you go down later. After Tang Ge came back to his senses, he saw Zhu's whose face was as red as a ripe apple on his neck, and said calmly while recalling the feeling just now. Immediately, his eyes fell directly on Yu Zhigang in the distance. Master, did you see that? Tang Ge, 1 on 8, it's also true. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 110 Devil Training for 3 months. Please subscribe. If this sentence was said at the beginning, neither Tang San nor Douluo would be convinced. You must know that in the town outside the starred out Great Forest, the 8 of them also joined forces, and even the Soul King above level, from Kanghu College couldn't do anything to them for a while. What's more, now that Tang San has become a soul master, the power of the blue-silver grass is even more indestructible than before. They are confident that they can join forces to take down Tang Ge, who doesn't use the 4th spirit ring and spirit skills. But now, seeing that Tang Ge first smashed Tang San and Ma Hongjin's joint attack, then smashed Douluo's white tiger-like longbow with his bare hands, and pushed the opponent away with a palm. As for Zhu and Lin Yuchen, yes and no are exactly the same, so don't mention it. So no matter whether it was Tang San or Douluo, they all immediately understood that even if they were really united, they were really no match for Tang Ge. And the other party has not even used powerful attacking soul skills so far. Thinking of this, Tang San and the others couldn't help but feel extremely bitter. It turns out that the gap between them is already so big, more than 10 meters away. Feeling the depressed mood of Tang San, Douluo and other students, and looking at Tang Ge, who still didn't forget to take advantage of the little girl in the sky at this moment, Yu Zhigang was so angry that he wanted to roll up his sleeves and go out in person. But thinking about the strength of his Wuhan Luo Sanpao, his face twitched slightly, and he immediately said to Tang San in a serious tone, "It's not scary to have a strong opponent. What's scary is that you don't have the courage to fight to the end. Zhao-san, as a teacher, I don't want to see you give up because of fear. So, as long as you don't fall, continue to attack Tang Ge with all your strength. And you, I don't ask you to win Tang Ge, I just hope you learn not to give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. not give up. Facing the strong, you must have the courage to fight to the end. Every word Yu Zhigang said was like thunder, reaching Tang San and Daimyo Bei's ears, immediately shaking their heads to buzz. But at this moment, the faces of the 8 people became more and more determined. At last, Tang San raised his head suddenly, looked at Tang Ge who was embracing Zhu Ziuqing in midair with a smile on his face, and said seriously, Tang Ge, I know that you are stronger than the 8 of us. But the teacher is right, we can't just admit defeat like this. Even if you knock us all down, we still have to get up and continue fighting. And me, Tang Ge, sooner or later, I will take back my boss position from you. Daimyo Bei endured the pain coming from his abdomen, but also gritted his teeth and said firmly, and I. Ning Rongrong, Oscar, Ma Hongjin, Xiao Wu and Lin Yuchen also stepped forward. Even Zhu Ziuqing's blushing pretty face returned to calm. Looking at Tang Ge with her dark eyes, she whispered, Tang Ge, let me go. I want to continue fighting with him. Got it. With what Yu Zhigang said about feelings, I immediately became a big villain, right? Seeing everyone's response like this, Tang Ge couldn't help secretly slandering him. But he still nodded, put Zhu Ziuqing down, and let the other party return to the team. At last, looking at the Shrek Future 8 monsters whose fighting spirit was revived by Yu Zhigang's words, Tang Ge couldn't help showing a cruel smile on his face. Since you are so eager to seek abuse, then I will fulfill you today. After the words fell behind him, the wings of Yin and Yang fluttered, and appeared in front of Daimyo Bei at an extremely fast speed. Before Daimyo Bei could react, Tang Ge reached out and grabbed his neck and lifted him from the ground. You still want to take away the position of the boss from me? I think you are overthinking. The second brother die, boom, 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 boom. Next, no matter how Daimyo Bei struggled, Tang Ge's hand holding his neck was steady and firm, while the other hand was clenched into a fist and smashed out continuously. Suddenly, Daimyo Bei turned into an immovable big beating bag. Not only Daimyo Bei, Tang San, Ma Hongjin, Oscar and the others also did not escape the beating. Under the fist of Tang Ge who was completely furious, Oscar's wishful thinking was useless. Regardless of gender, all of them can be typed correctly. The only difference is that the male Tang Ge spanks the face, while the female Tang Ge spanks the buttocks. So in the end, when the 8 of them fell to the ground in embarrassment, Ning Rongrong and the others couldn't see any injuries on their bodies except for being in a bit of a mess, but they were covering P with their little hands, with a look of shame and indignation. But the 4 men Tang San and Daimyo Bei directly turned into pig-faced faces. They didn't recognize their parents when they came. As for Yu Zhigang, who was staying in the distance to supervise, Tang Ge's unintentional palm of life and death was also slapped in the air, and he was directly disgraced by the agitated dust. Seeing Yu Zhigang who was hiding far away again, Tang Ge couldn't help but secretly proud in his heart snort. Let you use me again, eat dirt. In this way, today's training officially ended with Tang San's 8 people being beaten to the ground. But it's a pity that this kind of almost abused training was just the beginning for Tang San and the others. On the second day, Tang San and the others had just eaten the sumptuous food cooked by Yu Zhigang himself, and then started the repeated weight-bearing running training course from Shrek Academy to Soto City again. Moreover, training like this lasts for 3 months. In 3 months, Tang San and the others thoroughly realized what it means to live a life worse than death. They had to keep running back and forth between Shrek Academy and Notting City with heavy loads, and every time they collapsed from exhaustion, they almost returned to the finish line on their stomachs. After resting enough, eating and drinking enough, Tang San and the others faced the ruthless ravages from Tang Ge. And no matter what tactics they researched, they were still no match for Tang Ge's punch in the end. In the eyes of Tang San and others, Tang Ge seemed to be no longer just a soul sect, but an omnipotent titled Douluo. There was no opponent he couldn't deal with a single punch. If there is, then give it another punch. So in the end, Tang San and the others had completely given up the idea of defeating Tang Ge, and only hoped that the days of being ruthlessly crushed by Tang Ge would end soon. But fortunately, after being ravaged and beaten repeatedly, the cooperation between Tang San and the 8 of them became more and more tacit. This is the only comfort for Yu Zhigang who is in charge of the training course. As for Tang Ge, both Yu Zhigang and Flender have to admit that this child is too strong, and has completely exceeded their teaching ability. So, when it's time to stock up, let's stock up. End of this chapter. Chapter 111 Heartbroken Ma Hongjin. In the blink of an eye, 3 months of training time is about to pass. On the evening of the last day before the end, on the 2-story attic that belongs to Tang Ge alone, on the 2nd floor. In the room, Tang Ge was sitting cross-legged on the bed, constantly running the practice method Hell Furnace. In the Furnace of Hell, the Jilai pill, which absorbed a large amount of Jilai's power, was continuously refined, turning into pure ability and fused into Tang Ge's body. What is refined at the same time is the continuous life energy released by the meteor tears. For 3 months, Tang Ge didn't just practice sparring with Tang San and the others stupidly, but wasted a little time the next day to beat them up. For the rest of the time, Tang Ge stayed in the room to continuously improve his soul power level and awaken the ancient holy body alone by refining Jilai pill and meteor tears now. The Tribulation Thunder pill, which originally contained surging thunder power, has been refined to a small size. The pure energy transformed by it directly raised Tang Ge's soul power by 4 levels again. On the contrary, the progress of his ancient saint physique slowed down all of a sudden, and the 2-level energy accumulation of Tribulation Thunder Pill and Meteor Tears in 3 months only increased by 1 percentage point. This made Tang Ge feel very helpless. However, he also understood that the level of power of the ancient saint physique far surpassed that of the Douluo Continent, and it was normal for the speed of improvement to be as fast as a turtle. So even a 1% increase would give Tang Ge a qualitative leap in strength. Regarding this, Tang Ge's anxious mood gradually calmed down. At this time, Tang Ge's body, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, suddenly trembled, and the last bit of Tribulation Thunder Pill left in the Hell Furnace was finally completely refined. Immediately, a surging energy poured into Tang Ge's limbs and bones, instantly raising his soul power by another level. After the extremely fast Hell Furnace became empty, it slowly stopped. Tang Ge also finished his practice and opened his eyes. Suddenly, a dazzling thunder shot out from his eyes, leaving a scorched black mark on the front wall. After taking a deep breath and suppressing the boiling power in his body, Tang Ge directly called out the personal information panel, shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level 48 soul sect, martial soul, twin martial soul, yin and yang life and death diagram, 4 swords of Zuxian, soul ring, yin yang life and death diagram, purple, black, black, black. Soul skills, joy, yin-yang wings, life and death formation, life and death Mohammedra, Tai Chi sword formation, martial arts, random cloaking windhammer method, secretive Xing character, hell smelting, heavenly god fist, physique, ancient holy body, awakening 2%, shock value. 73,450, 3 months, 5 levels of soul power increase, plus 1% of the awakening progress of the ancient holy body. Although it wasn't fast, Tang Ge was really satisfied. One must know that this kind of strength is already far ahead of Tang San and other peers. And Tang Ge believes that it won't take too long for him to go from Soul Sect to Soul King. Looking at the shock value column, after such a long period of accumulation, it has reached more than, points. However, Tang Ge still resisted the urge to have a lottery draw and prepared to wait a little longer. When the time comes to complete the accumulation of, shock points, he will directly draw 10 consecutive draws, and the chances of getting good things are even higher. Of course, the real reason why Tang Ge is not in a hurry to draw the lottery is that he has no shortage of things for the time being. Thinking of this, Tang Ge got up and got out of bed after putting away the personal data panel. Squeak, as the door of the room was pushed open, the evening wind brought sunlight into the room, which immediately added a bit of color to the dark environment. Seeing the gradually darkening sky outside, Tang Ge's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly remembered something. He couldn't help showing a smile on his face, and muttered to himself, "If there are no accidents, Mo Hongjin going out to have a cup of tea tonight will probably be beaten up by that Buell Soul sect. Just being idle is idle. Now that I know about this, as the boss of Shrek Academy, how can I allow this to happen?" Say action and act. It was useless for Tang Ge to see if Tang San and the others returned to the academy after the last day of training, and directly used the wings of Yin and Yang to leave the attic, and flew towards Shrek Academy deer speed. And in another attic in the college, seeing Tang Ge who suddenly went out, Flender pushed his eyes on the bridge of his nose and smiled. This little guy is finally willing to go out, but once he goes out, he doesn't know which guy will be unlucky again. Why? Aren't you afraid that he will poke a big hole for you? Yu Zhiagang said. Flender shook the teacup in his hand, drank the tea in one gulp, and then stood up. He walked to the balcony with his hands behind his back, looked up at the sunset in the distance, and his voice was suddenly full of wildness. Which genius is mediocre in the process of rising? Flender, I'm not afraid that he will poke a hole, but I am afraid that the hole he poked is not big enough. Anyway, wouldn't someone come out to tell the truth? Having said that, Flender turned his head and glanced at Yu Xiaogang. Yu Xiaogang could hear the meaning of Flender's words, and couldn't help being speechless for a while. Feelings are none of your business, hang on high. Aren't you afraid that that guy will come to your door and beat you up if he finds out? However, he quite agrees with this sentence. The path of a genius is always uneven, so he nodded. You're right, I came to you today mainly for the next phase of the training plan for Xiaozhen and the others. What training plan? Flender asked. Yu Xiaogang walked to his side, looked in the direction of Suatuo City, and said calmly. The Great Soul Fighting Field in Soto City. Suado City, inside the Great Spirit Arena. With the help of the flying speed of yin-yang wings, Tang Ge came here in just a moment. Seeing the tall, long-haired beauty in hollow stockings behind the reception not far away, Tang Ge smiled and walked over. Beauty, are you free? How about going out for dinner together? With the appearance of a rose in his hand, Tang Ge handed it to the beauty, and invited with a smile. At this time, after the continuous transformation of the ancient holy body, his body has not only become slender and well-proportioned, but also his appearance has become extremely handsome. So as soon as the long-haired beauty raised her head, her pretty face blushed. Smelling the scent of roses blowing towards her face, she took it and nodded shyly. Ah! When the long-haired beauty came out from behind the workbench, Tang Ge immediately took her soft and fair hand, and walked towards the outside of the Great Spirit Arena together same time. On the square outside the big fighting spirit arena, Ma Hongjian, who had just finished training and arrived here, was fixing his clothes and hair, while constantly cheering himself up. Ma Hongjian, you are very handsome, if you can do it, you will definitely be able to take her down. After encouraging himself in this way, Ma Hongjian immediately gained self-confidence, and was ready to walk into the big spirit fighting arena. But as soon as he raised his head, he saw two familiar figures. Then, Ma Hongjian felt his heart was broken in an instant. End of this chapter. Chapter 112. Impatient to live. When he saw those two familiar figures coming out of the Great Soul Arena, the bouquet of roses that Ma Hongjian was holding fell to the ground immediately. Beside his ear, there was a clicking sound, which was the sound of his heart breaking. How can it be? Boss Tang, how could he do this? That's obviously the woman I'm looking for. Why is she with Boss Tang? Why treat me like this? Ma Hongjian's face was full of sorrow, and he felt that a large green prairie was floating over his head. He could see clearly that the two familiar figures were Tang Ge and the long-haired beauty who worked in the Great Soul Arena that he had been pursuing for a while. The beauty's name is Ding Dong. Ma Hongjian has already decided that as soon as the training is over, he will show his utmost sincerity to ask the other party out to confess. Now, Ma Hongjian is here. But he saw that Ding Dong, whom he missed day and night and wanted to win, actually ran away with his boss Tang. She followed boss Tang. Ran. Ma Hongjian's eyes turned red all of a sudden, tears began to flow out uncontrollably. Boss Tang, it's all for you to ravage my body, why do you want to ravage my heart in the end? In the end, Ma Hongjian couldn't bear it anymore, and suddenly cried out loudly. Boss Tang, I hate you. The voice was loud and shrill, and immediately attracted the eyes of passers-by on the square. They looked at Ma Hongjian, who was weeping bitterly, and saw the bouquet of roses at each other's feet, and suddenly realized, hey, it turned out to be another poor guy who was trapped by love. In the distance, Ding Dong, the long-haired beauty who was walking out with Tang Ge, also heard a mournful roar. There was curiosity on her face, and she wanted to turn her head to look. But Tang Ge suddenly reached out to stop her in his arms, and said with a smile, it's just a little fat kid who doesn't know what love is. There's nothing to look at. Then where are we going now? Being held in Tang Ge's arms, Ding Dong's face turned red as the man's breath hit his face. Her eyes became a little blurred, and she asked tremblingly. Tang Ge looked down at Ding Dong, who had completely fallen into his arms, and couldn't help reaching out to pat the opponent's pee-pee. Of course it's to eat delicious food, and then play some fun things. After finishing speaking, he laughed loudly, put his arms around the other slender waist and walked triumphantly towards the lively street ahead. Brother Ma Hongjian, you must look away. Brother Tang, I sold my sex tonight for your own good. Otherwise, not only will the beating be in vain, but even such a cute little girl will be buried in the hands of the bad guys because of your poor strength. That's it. On the last day before the end of the 3-month devil training, Tang Ge, who had made a breakthrough in strength, finally found a chance to come out and indulge in Suado City. There are beauties to eat and drink with, and occasionally kiss me, and soon it will be late at night. Finally, when he left the busy neighborhood, Tang Ge took the long-haired beauty Ding Dong, who was completely at his mercy, and walked directly towards the place without lights. As the two walked forward, the surrounding area became more and more secluded, almost no one could be seen. But Ding Dong still didn't know it, and half lied in Tang Ge's arms while walking, and her slightly fascinated pretty face was reflected in the dim moonlight. Tang Ge looked down at the girl in his arms, and couldn't help shaking his head. What a fool. I guess you have to count the money for someone who cheated you out of your kidney? Fortunately, he is not a bad person. He didn't do this, he just wanted to take the opportunity to do an anonymous good deed while relaxing. Gradually, the two walked more and more remote, almost leaving the city. Finally, just after passing a dark alley, with a clearly audible da-da-da footsteps, Tang Ge's eyes lit up. It finally appeared. Immediately he stopped, shaking Ding Dong, who was about to fall asleep on his own. Why didn't you leave? After being shaken awake, Ding Dong said in a confused way. Tang Ge whispered, let's lean against the wall and rest for a while. I drank too much water before. I'll find a place to solve it. I'll be here in a while. Ding Dong responded, and then he walked to the wall and leaned against it. It's just that Tang Ge just left, and with a gust of cold wind blowing, she seemed to think of something, and suddenly woke up completely after a shiver. Ding Dong's reddish face immediately turned pale when he saw the pitch-black place in front of him where no one was seen. She said in a panic, Tang, brother Tang, where's this place? Aren't we going to the hotel? Brother Tang, where are you? I'm a little scared, but unfortunately, there was no answer to Ding Dong's low cry. Frightened by the increasingly cold weather, she curled up and squatted on the ground, with tears rolling in her beautiful eyes. She was about to cry. Just at this moment, footsteps sounded again in the alley ahead. Ding Dong thought it was Tang Ge who had just left and came back, so he couldn't help but ran over in surprise, and shouted, Brother Tang, is that you? But when she ran to the entrance of the alley, the sound stopped abruptly. Da-da-da-da, accompanied by louder and louder footsteps, a figure gradually came out of the dark alley. This is a tall and thin middle-aged man, wearing a windbreaker and a top hat, but he looks a bit ugly, like a clown. As soon as he appeared, the middle-aged man's eyes fell on Ding Dong. Seeing Ding Dong with a great figure, he couldn't help sticking out his tongue and licking his lips, and said happily, Little girl, Brother Tang is not there, but Brother Buell is here. How dangerous it is for He to stay here quietly this night. What if you encounter bad people? How about Brother Buell taking you away? As he spoke, the middle-aged man named Bu Li reached out and grabbed Ding Dong's arm. Facing such an ugly middle-aged man, the other party wanted to touch him. Ding Dong, who was stunned for a moment, came back to his senses, and immediately let out a piercing scream. What? The sound waves of horror hit, and the unhappy face was directly distorted. He noticed the disgust in the eyes of the little girl in front of him, and couldn't help but feel angry, and said in a low voice, Toast, don't eat and fine wine, let's see how I deal with you tonight. But just when Bu Li's outstretched right hand was about to grab Ding Dong's arm, another hand suddenly appeared from one side and pinched his wrist directly. Immediately afterwards, a sneer with murderous intent rang out beside Bu Li's ears. Even my Tang Ge's woman dares to move, it seems that you are really impatient. Click. There was only a crisp sound, and before Buell came back to his senses, a powerful force swayed on his wrist, crushing his bones in an instant. Then, a shrill scream that was louder than Ding Dong's scream just now resounded. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 113 Devil Shield, Bad Omen. Caught off guard, the severe pain caused by the direct crushing of the wrist bones made Buell let out a miserable scream. But then he quickly mobilized the soul power in his body to rush to his wrist. While healing the crushed bones, he tried to break his right hand out of the opponent's hand. It's a pity that this hand is really tight, and Buell can't break free from it when he uses his soul power to attack. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead all of a sudden, and he couldn't help but secretly startled. Oops. Encountered stubble tonight. At this time, Ding Dong, whose face was pale from fright, saw the person who suddenly appeared to stop Bu Li Xianayu, and couldn't help but threw himself into the opponent's arms and began to cry. Woo, Brother Tang, you scared me to death. I thought you left me here alone. Do you know that I was really scared just now?" Hearing the aggrieved cry of the little girl in his arms, Tang Ge, who had just arrived, patted her shoulder with his empty left hand, smiling and comforting. "Hey, don't cry, how could I leave you alone?" When Ding Dong almost stopped crying, he said again, "You wait on the sidelines first, and let's go have fun after I finish this scum." Hearing Tang Ge's words, Ding Dang's pretty face blushed, nodded and walked aside obediently. "People leave." Tang Ge's eyes shifted to the gentle scum in front of him again. With a sneer on his face, he said, "Are you the one who goes out at night and rapes girls?" The voice was not loud, but it made Bu Li feel more stressed all of a sudden. While enduring the pain from his wrist, he forced a smile, and said, "I'm not happy, but this accusation of going out at night to rape girls is absolutely groundless. Brother, you see there must be some misunderstanding between us, right? Why don't you sit down and have a good talk? Keep your mouth clean." "Who is your brother?" Tang Ge frowned, and after a cold snort, he suddenly raised his foot and kicked Bu Li's stomach heavily. Boom. In an instant, Bu Li was kicked out, and then directly hid a pile of rubbish in front of him. The severe pain in his abdomen made Bu Li grin his teeth. But the uncontrollable wrist made him happy, and after quickly getting up from the ground, he wanted to use his martial soul to escape, and at the same time, he secretly remembered Tang Ge's appearance in his heart. Damn it. Just wait and see, when I am unhappy and gather my two partners, I must avenge tonight. What? Is this trying to escape and call someone to come over and take revenge on me? As a result, as soon as the idea of duel came into being, an indifferent voice that scared his soul almost out of his body suddenly sounded beside his ears. Immediately afterwards, another hand stretched out suddenly, pinched his neck directly, and lifted him up from the ground. Bu Li's whole body was lifted in the air, his feet couldn't touch the ground, and the soul power in his body was suppressed again, and his complexion began to turn purple. He kept kicking his feet and making painful noises as he struggled. If you have something to say it well, as long as you can let me go, I can answer, promise you, please." "Okay, I'll let you go." Hearing Bu Li's begging for mercy, Tang Ge smiled lightly and let go of his hand immediately. "Okay? Really let me go?" Bu Li, who was loosened and fell from midair, obviously didn't expect this result. After being stunned for a moment, he yelled out without saying a word. "Two hoods, hum." As the four soul rings emerged from under his feet, a pink devil mask like a woman's appeared behind him, releasing a pink mist. This is the unhappy Wuhan Cheyenne Luo Devil Shield. As soon as the martial soul was activated, the pink mist enveloped his whole body, and his figure immediately disappeared. Then unhappy and excited laughter sounded in all directions. "Ho ha ho ha, I have never seen a soul master as stupid as you, who actually let me go like this. So to thank you, I will let you live one more night if I am not happy. As for this girl, I will take it away for you." The pink mist gradually spread, tending to cover the entire area. Tang Ge was not in a panic. He first sensed the psychedelic illusory aura that filled the mist, and then looked at the looming pink devil hood. "Ah, it really is an evil spirit." So he smiled immediately, and said, "I'm afraid you misunderstood. I just want to take a look at your interesting martial spirit before I abolish you." After the words fell, the yin and yang life and death map of Wuhan appeared from Tang's singer. Then under his feet, soul rings rose up one after another, and the dazzling light released by the four soul rings, one purple, three black, instantly dispelled the pink mist. The unhappy laughter stopped abruptly, followed by an unbelievable exclamation. "You actually have 3 10,000-year spirit rings, ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you are shocked and unhappy, and you have gained, shock points, yo. How could it pull out so much wool?" Listening to the system notification sound in his mind, Tang Ge's eyes could not help but light up, and he stopped talking nonsense immediately, and raised his palm to slap the life and death Mohammedra. Boom. Accompanied by a dull sound, a figure first appeared, and then was slammed to the ground. When Tang Ge put away his martial soul and soul ring again and walked over, Bu Li was sinking into a huge pit shaped like a handprint, his body twitching constantly. The palm just now not only crippled the soul power in his body, but also nearly shattered all the bones in his body. So when he saw Tang Ge approaching, Bu Li's face showed a look of panic. Forgive me, excuse me? Let's lie here for a while." Hearing Bu Li's begging for mercy, Tang Ge snorted coldly, and as he stomped his right foot on the ground, the deep pit he had just photographed collapsed instantly. Immediately afterwards, The displeasure was directly buried in it. After making sure that no one would know that there was someone down here for a while, Tang Ge turned around and walked back. When he came in front of Ding Dong, looking at the long-haired girl who fell asleep because of inhaling the pink mist, he couldn't help shaking his head with a smile. "You are lucky to meet me." Then Tang Ge directly picked him up by the waist, and as the yin-yang wings appeared behind him, he immediately flew into the air and flew towards the area with lights in the distance. But soon, Tang Ge left and returned again. But don't get me wrong. He just went to a hotel to settle Ding Dong down, and after he settled down, he rushed back here immediately. Tang Ge couldn't help but wryly smiled when he thought of the sympathetic eyes of those long-legged waiters looking at him when he left the hotel. Forget it, don't think too much, it's important to get down to business first. After shaking his head to dispel his depressed mood, he walked directly to the place where Buell was buried just now, and the flat ground was separated by him again with one step. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 114. The Evil Soul Master appears. The ground cracked open, revealing the unhappiness buried beneath. As the air poured in, Buell, who was almost suffocated to death, took a deep breath, and immediately began to breathe heavily. He looked at Tang Ge again, as if he was looking at a demon. So even if Tang Ge casually waved a beam of milky white light to heal Buell's injuries, Buell still lay there like a dead body and dared not move. He was really afraid that the other party would bury him alive after he was cured. That feeling. Thinking of this, Buell couldn't help shivering immediately. His Adam's apple twitched and made a noise like a mosquito. "You, what do you want? I heard that you still have two accomplices who are in trouble. Take me to find them, and I can spare your life." Tang Ge looked unhappy and said lightly, "Let me lead the way to my accomplice. Shania and Goose test them?" Hearing Tang Ge's request, Bu Li was startled, and instinctively wanted to refuse. But he thought again. "No, why should I refuse? Why can I be like this, and those two guys can continue to get away with it? No, we must find them. Even if we die, we must die together." Thinking of this, Buell nodded immediately. "Okay, I'll take you there." Immediately, he dared to climb out of the pit and walk directly ahead to lead the way. Tang Ge walked behind and hurriedly, always keeping an appropriate distance from the other party. This was not because he was afraid that if he got too close, he would startle the snake, but because the urine on Buell's body was mixed with Shuang's strong smell before he was so smoked that he almost vomited out. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party was still useful, Tang Ge would have slapped him to death long ago. In this way, the two walked one after the other for almost half an hour, and they had already left Soto City completely. They didn't stop until a small mountain depression appeared in front of them, and the wooden houses built inside were faintly visible. "My two companions live in the wooden house there, but I'm not sure if they went hunting tonight." Buell pointed in the direction of the small call, and said in a low voice of fear, "Go hunting?" Tang Ge understood the true meaning of the two words that Bu Li said, and couldn't help snorting coldly. "If there is no one, you don't have to live, just call them. This is what I call it." Buell trembled in fright, hurriedly took 2 steps forward, took a deep breath and yelled out, "Shania, Goose Ko, I just brought back a fresh one, come out and pick me up if you want it." The sound was especially clear in the dark night, and it immediately spread to the small mountain in front. After a while, a response came from inside. "Hey, what happened to Buell tonight to become so generous?" "That's right, how can this Buell be so generous? I'm afraid what I brought back is a defective product." The voice moved from far to near, and soon 2 figures appeared in Tang Ge's field of vision. He was not happy to see these 2 figures, and was about to let go of his worries. But then he saw that the 2 figures who had just come over suddenly turned back and retreated towards the small depression, as if they had sensed the danger. Unhappily pulled together, couldn't help shouting, "What are you doing? Didn't you say you came out to pick me up?" Hearing the unhappy shout, one of the 2 retreating figures paused, and then directly opened his mouth to curse. "Well, you are not happy. You have been beaten out and you dare to lie to us. You really think that Goose Ko and I are fools? You're so unhappy, you'd be fine if you died, but you brought someone to trick us. It's a shame we still treat you like a brother. But no matter who the person next to you is, since you're here today, don't even think about leaving alive, the one above us." As a result, the man's voice stopped abruptly before he finished speaking. The dazzling purple-black light rose up, making everyone's eyes widen. At some point, Tang Ge had once again revealed 4 soul rings, 1 purple, 3 black, dancing around his body with a strong sense of oppression. At the same time, 3 system prompts sounded in his mind. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked the world, and gained, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked the goose test and got, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, he was shocked and happy, and got, shock points, okay? 700 points? The last system prompt made Tang Ge frown, and turned his head to look at Bu Li not far away. The purple-black light in the eyes flickered, and as soon as it landed on Bu Li was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. He thought Tang Ge was going to kill him, rolled his eyes, and immediately passed out again. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge was speechless. But now that he had passed out, he ignored the other party and walked directly towards the 2 figures in front of him. Tens of meters away, it was Beel's 2 accomplices who just appeared, named Yan Yan Ko. Goose Test, Martial Soul Duck, Soul Sect Cultivation Base. Although Xianya's Martial Soul is a green kitchen knife, its soul power level exceeds level. He is a soul master at the Soul King level. But at this moment, Tianya didn't have the slightest awareness of being a Soul King who can normally traverse the underground world of Soto City. Once he came to his senses, he not only continued to escape into the small call, but also escaped faster than a KO joke. At the beginning of the game, there was a Soul Master with 1 purple and 3 blacks. Even if the opponent was only a Soul Master, it was not comparable to Xianya, the tallest Soul King who only had a purple soul ring. Going up is completely sending you to death. At the same time, Tianya couldn't help cursing Bu Li in his heart. This idiot, how could he provoke such a powerful enemy? But as long as you escape into the small call, everything can be over. Goose Ko, who was chasing up next to him, seemed to have the same idea. The 2 of them looked at each other and couldn't help speeding up again. Okay? Could it be that there are still cards left by these 2 guys in the small call? Behind. Tang Ge, who originally wanted to slap Yan Yan Ko to death, frowned and thought to himself when he saw that they were fleeing so desperately into the mountain depression. So he temporarily gave up the idea of killing the 2 of them, and followed them directly into the small mountain depression. As soon as they arrived in the small call, Xianya and Ko who fled ahead suddenly stopped, and then knelt down on the ground with a plop like pushing a golden mountain topple a jade pillar. My lord, someone wants to kill us, they kowtowed and let out a shrill cry for help. Boom. With a terrifying aura coming out from the front room, directly flying Yan Yan and the 2 out. A middle-aged man with a gloomy complexion walked out slowly. Seeing this middle-aged man, Tang Ge's pupils suddenly constricted, and his heart instantly became vigilant. Not only because he felt the powerful aura released by the other party, but also because in the other party's hands, there was actually a Soul Master. And the soul power and vitality of this Soul Master are continuously gathering on the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man turned out to be an evil Soul Master. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 115 Exploding with all strength, smashing the Soul Emperor. In the blink of an eye, the Soul Master held by the middle-aged man turned into a mummy. After he casually threw it aside, his eyes fell on Tang Ge. When he saw the dazzling soul ring on Tang Ge's body that was moving rhythmically, the middle-aged man's eyes burst out with hot greedy light. He couldn't help letting out a hoarse laugh. I really didn't expect that someone would take the initiative to deliver it to the door. 1 purple, 3 black, 4 soul rings. Little guy, I have to say that your talent really surprises me. It's just a pity that when you get here, everything you have will become mine. As long as I devour you, my soul power level can go 1 step further. Obviously, the middle-aged man could tell Tang Ge's age was not that old at a glance, and he didn't seem to care about Tang Ge's background at all. As soon as he finished speaking, a leech-like martial spirit appeared, and 6 spirit rings rose from under his feet. 1 white, 2 yellows, 2 purples, 1 black. This middle-aged man is actually a soul emperor whose soul power exceeds level! Tang Ge was a little surprised, but he wasn't afraid. Instead he became excited. Last time, because the Dragon Lord and the Snake Woman merged into one body, he didn't have the opportunity to test where the limit of his current strength was. But now, a living Soul Emperor finally stood in front of him alone. Tang Ge felt that if he didn't kill the opponent tonight, he would really be sorry for such a good opportunity this time. Thinking of this, looking at the middle-aged man opposite, Tang Ge also showed a smile on his face. Want to swallow me? Then let me know your name, Gigi. Remember, my name is King Dongai, After you die, don't forget to ask my family members to seek revenge from me in dreams." After the middle-aged man said his name, he finally couldn't suppress the greed and desire in his heart, and rushed towards Tang Ge directly. Halfway through, with a yellow soul ring flickering on his body, a soul skill was released immediately. Leech Entanglement, Puff. The void seemed to be filled with invisible lake water, and amidst the ripples, a slender leech 7 or 8 meters long drilled out of it instantly. There is still sticky liquid dripping from its body, which is disgusting to watch. As soon as it appeared, the leech entangled Tang Ge directly. Tang Ge felt numb all over, and immediately cast the big handprint of life and death, and slapped it with one palm puff. The mysterious yin and yang energy erupted, not only suppressing the disgusting leech, but also directly enveloping the Soul Emperor Tang Ge who had just rushed over. Under the yin-yang Mahamudra, he clearly felt that his soul power was constantly being consumed. It can't be the soul skill of the 10,000-year soul ring, it's really powerful. King Tang Ge was secretly amazed, but the spirit rings on his body continued to light up one after another. Then he burst out drinking. Liquid Barrage, the leech regenerates. 2 Millennium Soul skills were released one after another, and a projectile made of liquid condensed appeared above his head. The yin-yang Mahamudra was slapped on it, as if it was patted on a sponge. As it continued to fluctuate up and down, the powerful force originally released was immediately dispersed and removed. And after another 1,000-year-old soul skill was released. Leeches only a few inches long quickly formed and appeared at the place where the leech was shot to death before. These leeches look small and don't seem to be a threat sex, but the quantity is simply too much. But in the blink of an eye, this small mountain depression was completely filled with leeches. Wherever they passed, not a single blade of grass grew, and even the 2 scumbags, Cheyenne and Ekeo, could not escape the catastrophe, and were soon submerged. After the leeches swarmed past, there wasn't even a piece of clothing left for the 2 of them puff. In the end, the liquid barrage couldn't stop the 10,000-year soul skill life and death Mahamudra, and was oppressed by a palm. Yue blasted the ground and killed a large group of leeches. But the Soul Emperor Tang Ge King had already left the attack range. He looked at Tang Ge surrounded by his own leeches, and couldn't help showing a ferocious smile on his face. "Little guy, I will let my little cuties treat you well, it's a pity to disappoint you," Tang Ge said lightly. Immediately, he didn't use his yin-yang wings to fly up, but after the 4th soul ring lit up with a jet black light, the Tai Chi sword formation suddenly emerged from under his feet. In the blink of an eye, this Tai Chi sword array covered a 10-meter radius. A sharp sword energy that wanted to tear through the space was gradually released from it. Even at a distance of more than 10 meters, the Soul Emperor Tang Ge could feel the horror of this sword energy. His pupils shrank slightly, and he felt a little bad in his heart, so he didn't hesitate to control the leeches around him to swarm up. In an instant, Tang Ge was submerged in it. But at this moment, the sound of swords resounding through the world suddenly appeared. Immediately afterwards, the leeches that had piled up like a mountain were directly burst open, and yin-yang flying swords flew out of them. In the blink of an eye, the entire sky was enveloped by the sword curtain transformed by the yin-yang flying sword. They were intertwined with each other and shuttled rapidly in the small mountain depression, and the burst of sword energy instantly shredded all the gathered leeches in the path. Tang Ge stood where he was, and none of the shredded leech corpses on the ground around him could touch his body. Moreover, there are more than 400 yin-yang flying swords condensed by him, and every time they pass through the air and kill a large number of leeches, they will feed back more surging vitality. With the help of this surge of vitality, not only would Tang Ge not be injured, but the hell furnace was still in operation to continuously increase the intensity of his soul power. And on the opposite side, standing more than 10 meters away, Tang Ge King, even if he was a soul emperor, could hardly keep calm at this moment, and was directly shocked by the scene in front of him. With nearly 500 flying swords, the light of the sword almost enveloped the entire small mountain depression, and the leeches group that he had given high hopes for were killed and completely defeated. Facing such a terrifying 10,000-year spirit ability, King Tang Ge was afraid, but he couldn't hide his inner envy and greed. He felt that if he could completely devour this little guy in front of him, his cultivation and martial spirit would definitely have a qualitative leap. But just as he was thinking about it, a strong palpitation suddenly hit him. Then King Tang Ge saw that Tang Ge, who was originally standing in the group of flying swords, took a step forward, and disappeared suddenly in place. When he came back to his senses, the other party had already appeared in front of him. "You, King Dongai's pupils constricted suddenly, and he was about to retreat while using his only 10,000-year soul skill. When Tang Ge saw this, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up into a sneer. Late, as soon as the words fell, as the trace of golden blood in the body circulated rapidly, the supreme power representing the ancient holy body was immediately fully stimulated. Followed by the heavenly fist, which contains the power of heaven, and the rare and hard-to-find soul guidance gloves. The moment Tang Ge connected these three backgrounds together, the fire power suddenly opened up, and he punched Dongai King with the secret of the word Zing. Oh no, accompanied by the screams of unwillingness and despair, Dongai King, who has the cultivation base of Soul Emperor, was blown away by this punch. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 One Sword, Kill the Dark Devilga Tiger Again. For a long time, with the improvement of strength, Tang Ge has not found the opportunity to fully display the abilities he has mastered. Even if he was taken away by the stupid Titan giant ape that time, he only used the aura of Zeuxin sword to frighten him and the sky blue bull python now. Facing the evil soul master of the Soul Emperor level, Tang Ge finally no longer had any reservations, and the Danghuang ancient holy body, heavenly fist and the word Zing were connected together. The fire power is fully activated in an instant. His right fist with a soul tool glove was finally thrown out, the golden and milky white rays of light intertwined and directly turned into a huge fist of light. Under this giant fist of light, the Soul Emperor Dongai King just let out a scream, and was instantly exploded. His soul power, martial soul, soul ring, and everything on his body were all shrouded in this giant fist of light, and all traces of their existence were directly erased. Then, the speed of the giant fist of light did not decrease, and it turned into a beam of flames and blasted heavily on the distant hillside. Rumble. Rumble. Immediately, an earth-shattering explosion suddenly spread in the dark night. In particular, the golden white light that shot up into the sky after the giant fist of light dispersed dispelled the night, illuminating the entire small mountain as if it were daytime. In the golden white light, there is a strong, majestic and sacred atmosphere. In the distant headquarters of the Spirit Hall, in the Elder Hall, in a heavily guarded room, two figures were sitting cross-legged practicing. One of them was an old man with a haggard face, but his majesty was gone. The other person was a girl with reddish long hair, and her appearance was extremely beautiful. As the two of them breathed, a trace of sacred aura leaked from them, which immediately made the originally cold room a little warmer. But at this moment, the old man and the girl seemed to be startled by something, their bodies shook one after another, and they suddenly opened their eyes. And even more amazing, behind them, their own martial souls all emerged. They were angels with wings on their backs. Grandpa, do you feel it? The girl's eyes fell on the old man, and she spoke softly. Hearing the girl's words, the old man nodded. I can feel it. It's a holy breath as magnificent and pure as the god of angels. Could it be that besides our family, there are other people on this continent who have also awakened the angel martial soul? Speaking of this, the old man seemed unable to understand, and couldn't help frowning. Holy breath? The old man's words seemed to evoke some distant memories in the girl's mind, and a complex expression flashed across the originally cool and pretty face. Immediately, she suddenly said, Grandpa, I have been practicing here for 5 years, and I want to go out to practice. 5 years? I didn't expect 5 years to pass so quickly. That being the case, Zuir, you can go out to practice and with your current cultivation base, as long as you don't meet those veteran soul saints, no one under contract can hurt you. Hearing the girl's request, the old man was taken aback for a moment, and then nodded with emotion. And looking at the girl in front of him, he was satisfied but couldn't hide the love in his eyes, and said, no matter what, I have to protect myself. In addition, the aura that you sensed just now seems to come from the place near the starred out Great Forest of the Heaven Dao Empire. Please pay attention when you go out to practice this time. Heaven Dao Empire, starred out Great Forest? The girl nodded, but her thoughts still drifted away unknowingly. Rumble. Rumble. A small mountain depression several miles outside Suachuo City was completely destroyed and turned into flat ground following the earth-shattering explosion just now. The golden white light bursting into the sky also lasted for a while, and then disappeared with a gradually receding loud noise. The night darkened again. And at the very center of the explosion, on the only remaining piece of flat pure land, the sword curtain formed by the rapid movement of yin-yang flying swords around Tang Ge is enveloping him. He didn't remove the sword curtain until all the aftermath disappeared, took back the martial soul and soul ring, and took a deep breath. It's so tiring. But, it's really cool. Feeling the soul power that was almost gone in his body, Tang Ge couldn't help but sat down on the ground. His pale face showed a touch of excitement and satisfaction that couldn't be concealed. Up to now, he could finally be sure that once all of his background broke out with all his strength, it would be difficult for a strong soul emperor to block his attack. Just like the evil soul master named Dong Gai when just now, he will be bombarded by him so that there is not even a scum left. As for the soul saint who is one level higher, Tang Ge feels that if the Zhu Xian sword is not used, the two sides should be, exclamation mark. This immediately boosted his self-confidence a bit, and he can also let go of his hands and feet when doing some things in the future, so he doesn't have to worry about this and that. However, Tang Ge didn't notice that in the huge pit that was blasted out by a punch just in front of him, dark shadows were rapidly gathering from all around to the center. And these dark shadows seemed to be conscious, and after gathering together, they gradually transform into form. Soon, a mini tiger was condensed. As soon as it appeared, the pitch-black wings condensed from its back flapped violently, leading it into the sky, and then quickly grew into a giant flying tiger several feet high. What's more, this giant flying tiger is completely condensed from pitch-black mist, filled with a thick evil aura, and surrounded by thunder and lightning. Such a huge movement immediately alarmed Tang Ge, who was about to leave. When he saw clearly the giant flying tiger that appeared above his head, his pupils constricted suddenly, and his heart suddenly became horrified. Isn't this the dark Douluo tiger that was chopped to death by the sword of the holy Keisha? How did it appear here again? That's right, the giant flying tiger that suddenly appeared at this moment was the dark Douluo tiger, but compared to the original height of more than 10 meters, it was like a shrunken version. But the evil aura on the dark Douluo tiger's body was completely gone. Especially after seeing Tang Ge and recognizing Tang Ge, it released a terrifying aura comparable to that of a tidal Douluo while angrily letting out a human roar. Damn human, it's you again. Roar. I must kill. But before the dark Douluo tiger's roar fell, Tang Ge raised his hand without any hesitation and flicked the dark Douluo tiger with his fingers. On this day, Zhu Xianjian was finally attracted by him and released a sword energy. Tear. As the sky was torn apart in an instant, the dark Douluo tiger, comparable to the tidal Douluo, was instantly wiped out under the sword energy of the jade immortal sword like crisp paper. A sword. Dark Douluo tiger, die? Immediately afterwards, behind the split sky, endless turbulent voids rushed out to ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 117. Tang Hao, who was scared, almost exploded his ring. Because of Tang Gehuang's successful awakening of the ancient saint physique, he could barely bear the terrifying backlash brought about by the forceful use of Zhu Xian's sword energy. So when he saw the dead dark Douluo tiger reappear here, and his aura far surpassed that of Contra, Tang Ge used his trick without even thinking about it. A trace of jade sword ki was released, and Tang Ge's whole body suddenly burst due to the huge pressure that he had to bear in an instant, and a large amount of blood gushed out. But then the meteor tears fused in his heart were stimulated, releasing surging life energy. Suddenly, Tang Ge began to recover from the injury that had just appeared on his body. But Tang Ge didn't pay attention to these at the moment. His attention was completely focused on the sky above his head. The trace of Zhu Xian's sword energy just now not only instantly strangled the dark Douluo tiger, but also tore a crack in the sky. Behind the crack is endless void turbulence, gushing out directly along this crack. And Tang Ge happened to be standing at the place where the turbulent flow of the void poured down. He didn't know how terrifying the turbulence in the void was, but just looking at the distorted space around him, he knew that once he was involved, it would definitely not be a joke. It's just that Tang Ge's condition is not good at the moment. After experiencing two powerful enemies one after another, the soul power in his body has already bottomed out. Coupled with the injury caused by Zhu Xian's sword energy, it is very difficult to move, let alone fly away. Although Tang Ge was already working hard to run the hell furnace to recover his soul power, it would take at least a dozen breaths. But the void turbulence above the head will sweep in the next moment. Should I kill myself tonight? Thinking that the instigator of this situation was himself, Tang Ge's pale face was full of powerlessness and depression. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have used so much sword energy just now. Just as he was thinking, a system prompt sounded in Tang Ge's mind. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Tang Hao and gained, shock points, What did I hear just now? Shocked Tang Hao, that Tang Hao from Haoshan Douluo. Tang San's father? Tang Ge, who didn't care at all, was taken aback for a moment, and then his face was full of surprise. He immediately looked around eagerly, and then he really saw a burly figure wearing a cloak covering his head more than 100 meters away. Regardless of whether this burly figure was Haoshan Douluo or not, Tang Ge raised his hand as if he had grasped a life-saving straw. He intended to wave his hand to let the other party come to save him. As a result, this fell into the eyes of the cloaked man, but it reminded the other party of the terrifying scene just now when Tang Ge also raised his hand and pointed, and the sword energy gushed out. On the spot, the pitch-black night erupted with dazzling colorful light. Under Tang Ge's dazed gaze, one after another soul rings continuously emerged from the cloaked man's feet. In the blink of an eye, 8 layers of yellow, purple, and black soul rings began to move around the cloaked man. Especially when the 9th soul ring came out, the dazzling red light finally woke Tang Ge up. 10-year soul ring. Clear sky hammer. It is definitely Tang San's father, Haoshan Douluo. But, I just want you to come and take me away. Why are you lighting up your soul ring? Do you also have a shock system and want to shock me? After Tang Ge came back to his senses, his heart was full of doubts. But immediately after the man in the cloak showed his spirit ring and martial spirit in the distance, the 9 spirit rings around him suddenly became brighter again. Then a violent and terrifying aura was suddenly released from him. This is. Are you going to blow up the ring? Damn it, it's me who is going to die, not you. Why are you blowing up your rings? Are you sure about Tang San's father's show? The operation was not to save people, but when he was about to go all out, Tang Ge finally couldn't wait any longer. Seeing that the turbulent flow of the void had already swept across this area, he had no choice but to grit his teeth fiercely, and after spitting out a mouthful of blood, he used the words forcibly hum. The chaotic void was abruptly torn open by Tang Ge, and after traveling a distance of more than 100 meters, it happened to appear in front of the cloaked man. Looking at the cloaked man in a daze in front of him, Tang Ge, who was about to fall to the ground, finally made a weak voice. Uncle Tang, can you help me? The original small call was completely smoothed after the 2 battles. Although the torn sky had healed, the turbulent void that filled the place could not be dissipated for a long time. A soul master from Suachuo City who came over upon hearing the noise unknowingly approached the turbulent void, and before he could react, he was directly torn to pieces. And the other soul masters who followed were all backed away in fright. Although they were very curious about the appearance of the turbulent void, they didn't dare to approach it again. At the same time, on the top of another mountain dozens of miles away, Tang Ge was brought here directly by the cloaked man. And after Tang Ge called out Uncle Tang, the cloaked man not only put away his martial soul and soul ring, but also took off his hood to cover his face. Look at his bearded and always decadent appearance. Isn't he Tang San's father Tang Hao? Uncle Tang, what happened to you just now? I just want you to go and save me. What are you doing with your soul ring? Besides, the way you were going to blow up the ring just now almost scared me. Sitting on the ground, Tang Ge continued to heal his body with the life energy of meteor tears, while looking up at Tang Hao, saying with a lingering fear on his face. Hearing Tang Ge's words, Tang Hao couldn't help but twitch violently. Can he say that he was so frightened that he almost exploded the ring just now? You know, Tang Hao just appeared outside the small mountain because of the beam of light that soared into the sky. In the end, he saw the scene where Tang Ge raised a finger and then tore open the sky with a sword and strangled the dark demon evil god tiger. As for the dark devil tiger, Tang Ge naturally knew this tens of thousands of year old soul beast that had been active in the Star Dao forest. It was precisely because of this that even though Tang Hao hadn't experienced it personally, he still deeply understood the horror of the sword energy that tore through the sky. Coupled with the haste, Tang Hao didn't see Tang Ge's appearance clearly. That's why later when Tang Ge raised his hand towards him again, he was so frightened that he couldn't help resisting the opponent's terrorist attack with a ring explosion. It's just that it's all just a misunderstanding. At this moment, when Tang Ge mentioned what happened just now, even as a titled Douluo, Tang Hao couldn't help being embarrassed, feeling rather ashamed. Fortunately, it is night now, and the sky's relatively dark. So Tang Hao quickly regained his composure, coughed, and said calmly, "The turbulence in the void is extremely dangerous, so I prepared to go all out to save you, but you escaped from it yourself. As for the fried rings, etc., how did you kid know about bombing the ring? And it's so late, why didn't you take it with you at Shrek Academy, but ran out of Soto City?" As a result, in the middle of speaking, Tang Hao changed his tone and suddenly questioned Tang Ge. And he had a serious look on his face. Asked for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 118, The Mystery of Life Experience. Tang Ge didn't bother to argue against Tang Hao's blushing lie. And now, after killing a Soul Emperor and the Dark Devil Tiger one after another, although the price paid was a bit high, Tang Ge's self-confidence was completely overwhelmed. So facing Tang Hao's questioning to change the subject, he wasn't afraid at all, and said with a smile, "Isn't there a master? He knows a lot of things, whether it's ring explosion or something else. I learned it from him. What's more, I have been adventuring since I was 6 years old. It is normal to know a little more secrets and encounter a little adventure. Just like when I was in Holy Soul Village, didn't I also eat a mutated wild fruit?" Having said that, Tang Ge winked at Tang Hao with a proud expression on his face. It turned out that it was good not to mention the fruit, but when the fruit was mentioned, Tang Hao suddenly remembered some bad things. He couldn't help snorting, and said, "Could it be that the sword you made was also due to eating the fruit? Forget it, this is your own secret, I won't ask too much. I came to you this time mainly to tell you to pay attention to yourself in the future. Someone has already started to notice you. If you are not careful, after I leave, once those people come to the door, you will be able to bear it." "Someone noticed me?" Hearing Tang Hao's reminder, Tang Ge's eyes flashed with surprise, and he asked, "Are you from the Wuhan Palace?" Tang Hao's eyes froze immediately, and he took a deep look at Tang Ge. But he didn't answer, but said, "That's all for now," and jumped off the top of the mountain. Seeing Tang Hao jumping off the mountain, Tang Ge couldn't help muttering, "I'm not afraid of falling to death," and then concentrated on healing. This time, because of the forceful action of using the sword energy of this Huxin sword, and the use of the word Zing when he was seriously injured, Tang Ge once again experienced a feeling of being backlashed by using this Huxin sword to obtain shock points. It was as if his bones had been crushed all over his body, and waves of pain kept hitting his nerves. The bottoming out of soul power made Tang Ge mentally exhausted, and he wished he could just close his eyes and fall down. But fortunately, such a heavy injury allowed meteor tears to release a steady stream of life energy once again. The night passed. In the early morning of the next day, Tang Ge, who had been running the hell furnace without stopping for a moment, finally opened his eyes. Feeling the body that had completely recovered, he breathed a sigh of relief. Finally back to the top. Not only that, but Tang Ge was even more satisfied. This time his body was healed after being ravaged, and his ancient sacrament awakening rate actually increased by another percentage point. So after a battle last night, his strength has not retreated but advanced. After stretching and standing up from the ground, feeling the body full of majestic strength, a smile appeared on Tang Ge's face. Wish there were more fights like this. After a moment of self-satisfaction, he didn't stay here any longer, but directly used his yin-yang wings and flew towards the place where the battle took place last night. Tang Ge was puzzled by the appearance of the evil soul master and the resurrected dark demon evil god tiger, so he wanted to go over to see if that unhappy death had passed away. He wanted to learn about the situation from the other party. It didn't take long for Tang Ge to return to the outside of the small mountain depression. However, the small mountain depression that was originally quite large has long since disappeared, replaced by a crisscross ravine. In addition to the various soul masters who wanted to know the situation, even the kingdom sent soldiers to surround it. Tang Ge just looked at it in midair, then left here and flew in another direction. Not long after, he saw a figure in a woods below. It was none other than Li, whose soul power had been crippled last night. At this moment, he looked very embarrassed. His whole body was covered with blood, and he seemed to be too tired, so he sat on the ground with his back against a big tree and fell asleep. It's really lucky to be able to come here alive. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge couldn't help laughing, and the whole person flew down immediately. As a result, as soon as he got down, Li, who was falling asleep, was startled and stood up straight, turning around instinctively to run away. But as if he had thought of something, he stopped abruptly. Looking at Tang Ge, Li said with horror on his face, "You, how do you know I'm here?" "Ah, Healing light is not for nothing, it comes with a marking function. Feeling the despairing eyes from Bully, Tang Ge secretly smiled in his heart. Then he said calmly, "It's still the same as last night, tell me the origin and purpose of that Soul Emperor, and I will let you go." I really don't know. Shianaya didn't mention that person to me at all. However, I heard from Boss Shianaya that some important person wanted him to find someone. The person who was found had a crescent moon mark on his body and a jade pendant with a Tang character engraved on the jade pendant. As long as the person being found is within a radius of 1 mile, Glue's test will automatically perceive its location through the treasure given to him by the big man. Facing the demon Tang Ge, Bully didn't dare to plot at all, and immediately told everything he knew. At the end, he looked at Tang Ge pitifully. I'm done talking, can you let me go, is it really over? No concealment, Tang Ge squinted his eyes and looked directly at Buell. Buell swayed in fright, and hurriedly nodded desperately. It's over, it's really over, boom. As a result, before he could finish speaking, a huge handprint was suddenly photographed, and he was directly photographed into the ground. Seeing traces of blood oozing from the ground, Tang Ge let out a cold voice. Now that we've finished talking, let's go see your two brothers. Immediately, he frowned again. Thinking back to what Bully said just now, Tang Ge was sure that the person the big man in the other party's mouth was looking for was him. Because it wasn't just a jade pendant that he had received into the system space, the word Tang was engraved on it. Also, under his armpits, there is a crescent imprint since he was a child. This crescent mark is known to no one except him and Grandpa Jack. But now, a person who has never met knows two big secrets about him. This had to make Tang Ge think of his biological parents who abandoned him in this life. Could it be someone from that sect? Wrong. Tang Ge couldn't help thinking of the evil soul master of the Soul Emperor level that he had smashed to death with a punch. Being able to mix with the evil soul master. It is impossible for people from that sect to seek help from scum like Dian Yaniko. Maybe the big guy in the other party's mouth is either the Soul Emperor, or an evil soul master like the Soul Emperor. But no matter what the result is, this made Tang Ge have a bad idea. He shouldn't be the descendant of the evil soul master who everyone shouted for beating and killing. Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 119. Who's talking nonsense? Ask for a monthly pass. Thinking of this, Tang Ge felt that his thoughts were out of control and began to fly around. He even doubted that if he was born in that place, not to mention that he was born with full soul power, but awakening a hammer should be no problem. But the result is that no matter Tang Ge's martial soul or innate full soul power, they are all brought by the system. So is it possible that his evil soul master father or mother devoured his soul power and martial soul, and the other party abandoned him outside the Holy Soul Village to protect him? Why does the more I think about it, the more I feel that there is an unknown tragic story behind my life experience. In the end, Tang Ge's had hurt from thinking about it, and he couldn't help whispering viciously. Forget it, who cares? Anyway, whether I have anything to do with my parents in this life, if they really want to eat me, if they are evil soul masters, they will kill me with a slap. The matter has come to this point, all clues have been cut off, and the next thing to do is to wait for the other party to come to the door. Therefore, Tang Ge didn't stay here any longer, and flew directly in the direction of Shrek Academy with the wings of yin and yang. In Shrek Academy, the 8 Tang San and Daimyo Bei, who were originally preparing for a good night's sleep because of the end of the 3-month training, had already gathered in the academy's playground at this moment. And they basically stayed up all night. Their minds were full of the beam of light that shot up into the sky and the scene of the torn sky last night. Such a huge commotion not only made Soto a city full of storms, but Shrek Academy also failed to calm down. So early in the morning, Yuzaegang and Flender came forward and called all the students here. Teacher, Dean, what happened last night, and how could there be such a big commotion? Tang San couldn't help asking. When the others heard it, their eyes revealed doubts and curiosity. Because only Flender went out to investigate what happened last night. But even after such a long time in the past, when he thought of that terrible picture, his pupils couldn't help shrinking. So for Tang San's question, Flender took a deep breath before speaking slowly. If I'm not mistaken, the commotion last night was caused by the battle between 2 soul masters. And among them, there is at least one existence whose soul power level is not lower than Title Douluo. What? Is there a Title Douluo fighting? Hearing Flender's words, Tang San and 8 people present all gasped, with disbelief on their faces. They are currently the strongest at the Soul Master level, and it is not bad to be able to blow out a hole with one blow, but the battle last night produced a beam of light that reaches the sky. Is this the strength of title Douluo? After the shock, the hearts of the 8 people were filled with envy and anticipation. But Yu Zhigang frowned, looked at Flender and said, "Are you sure there is a title Douluo involved? Then do you think besides title Douluo, who else can tear open a crack in the sky? Is it a god?" Flender asked back. Immediately, he ignored Yu Zhigang, who was contemplating, and shifted his gaze to a group of colleges again, and opened his mouth to remind. Because the whole story of what happened last night has not yet been investigated, in order to ensure your safety, try not to leave the academy in the near future. Can't you go to Suado City? Ma Hongjin couldn't help asking. When Flender heard this, he stared at him fiercely. Can't go. Especially you, the dean, you have to treat him fairly. Since he won't let me go, neither can Boss Tang Ge, Ma Hongjin said angrily. It's just that as soon as he said this, a familiar laughter suddenly came from a distance. Fatty, where are you not letting Boss Tang go? Immediately, with a howling wind, Tang Ge's figure appeared above the big playground. He slowly retracted his yin-yang wings, and after falling from mid-air, he looked at Flender and Yu Zhigang. Is this going to a meeting? I'm not late, just come back safely. Seeing that Tang Ge was safe and well, Flender completely relaxed his heart and said gently. But then he seemed to think of something. His expression suddenly became strange, and he pushed Yu Zhigang, who was still pretending to be thinking. Did you want to discuss with me the next training plan for the students? If so, let's go. Yu Zhigang turned around after being pushed like this. But he just nodded, then suddenly walked in front of Tang Ge, patted him on the shoulder, and spoke earnestly. Tang Ge, I know that your strength is far stronger than that of your peers, but some aspects cannot be compensated by strength, so let's take it easy. What certain aspects? Why should I look away? Tang Ge was extremely confused by Yu Zhigang's ambiguous words. But when he was about to question the other party had already left the playground with Flender. Immediately afterwards, Tang Ge felt a pair of complex, sympathetic, and regretful eyes falling on him. He turned his head and found that these gazes were from Tang San and others. Especially Dime Yubei walked over with a sigh, wanting to pat Tang Ge on the shoulder like Yu Zhigang, but Tang Ge avoided him directly. Speak up if you have something to say. If you have a fart, let it go. Staring at Dime Yubei, Tang Ge said impatiently. Dime Yubei couldn't help touching his nose, and smiled mischievously. It's nothing important. I just want to persuade Boss Tang to be more careful. It doesn't matter if the time is short, as long as it hits once. Bah, pervert wolf. Hearing Dime Yubei's words, Ning Rongrong and the others blushed. Xiao Wu snorted even more. On the contrary, Oscar agrees with Dime Yubei's words very much. He looked at Tang Ge, patted his heart very loyally, and assured him, Boss Tang, don't worry, when I become stronger in the future, I will make a sausage specially for you, which will definitely make you lasting and powerful. Tang Ge didn't know what was going on at first, but now it sounds like he's clearly saying that he's not good at that place. And also said that his time is short and not lasting? Tang Ge was so angry that he directly named Lin Yujin, and said, Xiaojin, tell me everything you heard. I want to see who is talking nonsense. Brother Tang. This, Lin Yujin's pretty face flushed slightly. She seemed to think that Tang Ge was angry because of embarrassment, and wanted to show that she didn't mind this aspect. But feeling Tang Ge's fierce eyes, she obediently told all the rumors she heard. In the end, there was just a click, and a crack was stepped on the originally flat ground by Tang Ge. His gaze locked on Ma Hongjin, who wanted to take the opportunity to escape from this place. Okay, fatty, you know how to spread rumors. Don't you think you Boss Tang and I were too light in those 3 months? Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 120. Sudden feeling tired of being alive. Watched by Tang Ge's ferocious eyes, Ma Hongjin, who was about to take the opportunity to escape, froze, and immediately stopped in place. He was still very scared at first, but when he thought of the goddess he had worked so hard to pursue for a period of time being snatched away, a grievance burst out of his heart. For a moment, under the amazed eyes of others, Ma Hongjin stiffened his neck and said stubbornly, Boss Tang, the 3-month training is over, you can't hit me anymore. Moreover, your time period is not what I said, but the waiter in the hotel told me. Then, in order to prove that he was not lying, he directly told all about his experiences in Soto City last night, regardless of the embarrassment original. After seeing Ding Dang follow Tang Ge last night, Mo Hongjin was very sad, but he didn't want to give up like this, so he planned to find Tang Ge and ask him why he did this. It's just that Tang Ge left with Ding Dong, not knowing where he would go. Suochuo City is so big, 2 people just drilled into place. It was like sinking into the sea. Not even a wave could be stirred up, let alone easy to find. Without any choice. Considering that the ultimate goal of the two might be to sleep, Ma Hongjin, who had tears in his eyes and a bitter expression on his face as if he had eaten Coptis chinensis, could only lock his destination on the hotel in Soto City. Not to mention the result, after some searching and inquiring, he actually found out about Tang Ge and Ding Dong in a hotel. And then, Tang Ge just settled Ding Dong, and left the hotel directly to find the buried unhappy. But in the eyes of the hotel waiter, he only thought that Tang Ge was not good at that, and it was over so quickly to open a room with a girl. It's nothing if it's someone else. But Tang Ge was tall and handsome, so he was naturally very eye-catching, so he became the object of discussion when the hotel waiters were bored. But when Ma Hongjin heard the news, he was not so happy. He was angry that Tang Ge was obviously not good at that aspect and ruined the goddess he was chasing so hard, but also felt a sense of comfort and pride inexplicably. So as soon as he returned to the academy, when Dean Flender asked Ma Hongjin if he had met Tang Ge, he pretended not to tell the story. Then Zhao Wuji learned from Dean Flender, out of revenge for being beaten by the cloaked man, he immediately passed the news to Daimyo Bei. In this way, Tang San and 8 people soon knew all about it. However, they were skeptical at first, but now that Ma Hongjin explained the detailed process, Tang Ge's shortcoming of short time was confirmed in an instant. When it came to the end, Ma Hongjin seemed to feel that he was getting more and more rational, and his voice raised a few notches. He said angrily, "I'm not talking about you, Boss Tang Ge. Anyone can tell that Sister Yuchen, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Ziuking are interested in you, so it's fine for you to monopolize 3 of them. After all, this is a matter between you. Oscar and I are not even envious. But you still have to occupy the pot and eat the bowl. What's even worse is that you want to snatch away the goddess I've been chasing for so long. Second brother die, third brother, listen, do I make sense?" Reasonable, the words were not spoken by Daimyo Bei and Tang San, but by Tang Ge. As the temperature around him dropped, Tang San and the others felt a depression before the storm, so they wisely kept silent. Tang Ge slowly walked in front of Ma Hongjin. Only then did Ma Hongjin come to his senses. Looking at Tang Ge with a frosty face, he couldn't help but take a few steps back, and said weakly, "Boss Tang, I told you that you can't hit me again. Well, I won't hit. I'll fuck you up." In the middle of speaking, Tang Ge suddenly yelled, and directly reached out and grabbed the back of Ma Hongjin's neck. After the violent power broke out, his face was in close contact with the ground in an instant boom. Accompanied by the muffled sound, human figures appeared on the originally flat ground. A fat body is falling into it, struggling constantly. After finishing all this, Tang Ge's depressed mood suddenly eased a lot. Immediately, he didn't bother to explain, just snorted, "This little fat man's words are pure nonsense. Whoever dares to spread them indiscriminately, don't blame me for being rude to him." After leaving this harsh word, Tang Ge turned and left. After Tang Ge's figure disappeared, everyone came back to their senses, and when they saw Ma Hongjin struggling violently in the ground, they hurried over to save him. After some treatment, Ma Hongjin was pulled out from the ground, although his face was swollen like a pig, but his life was fine. Woo 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 woo, his face was full of tears, he didn't know whether it was pain or grievance, but he couldn't say a complete sentence. Seeing this, Daimyo Bei couldn't help shaking his head. Tang Ge is also true. We are all classmates. Just kidding. Is it necessary to use such a heavy hand? Besides, it is not our fault that he has problems in that area. Hearing Daimyo Bei's words, Oscar next to him was about to nod. But Lin Yuchen suddenly stood up, looked at Daimyo Bei, and said in a very angry tone, "Senior Mu Bei, I don't allow you to say that about Brother Tang." Brother Tang was already very sad because of that kind of thing. What we should do is to comfort him, not continue to poke his pain points here. Moreover, you can find so many women, why can't Brother Tang? Compared with his peers, Brother Tang is already very good. After finishing speaking, regardless of Daimyo Bei whose face became a little ugly, Lin Yuchen directly chased in the direction Tang Ge had just left. After listening to Lin Yuchen's words, Ning Rongrong, who was still angry with Tang Ge, also showed regret on her pretty face. She whispered, "Sister Yuchen is right, Tang Ge has already done well enough, we can't be so demanding on him. Moreover, for men, if they fail in that aspect, it will be really painful. I can feel the helpless and hesitant figure when Tang Ge left just now. So, Ma Hongjin, please don't bring up this matter again in the future, okay? By doing this, you are destroying the relationship between our classmates. Afterwards, Ning Rongrong also chased after her. In the end, only Zhu Ziuqing was left alone. Dai Mubei instinctively set his eyes on her, with a look of anticipation in his eyes, but he saw the other party walking towards the direction where Ning Rongrong and Lin Yuchen left without saying a word. At this moment, Dai Mubei seemed to have lost all the strength in his body, and suddenly collapsed on the ground. His face was full of unwillingness and bitterness. As for the swollen pig-faced Ma Hongjin, his eyes were wide open, staring blankly at the three daughters Ning Rongrong, Lin Yuchen and Zhu Ziuqing who left. He felt dizzy, his head was full of confusion, flooded. Wasn't it me who was beaten? Wasn't it me who was robbed of the woman? How come it's all my fault now? Ask for a monthly pass. End of this chapter. Chapter 121. Please call me Ancient Sage Monarch. Facts have proved that being handsome and capable can really do whatever you want. Not long after Tang Ge beat up Ma Hongjin and left depressed, three female students, Lin Yuchen, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Ziuqing, followed after her. Then the three female classmates began to comfort him continuously, and they still scolded Ma Hongjin in front of him, so they almost pulled Ma Hongjin over and let him go berserk again. Tang Ge listened with elation and satisfaction. It's just that the only thing that makes him uncomfortable is that the rumors on his side that have a short period of time may not be able to explain clearly for a while. Unless, find someone to try? Thinking of this, Tang Ge couldn't help observing the three female students. Seeing Tang Ge like this, the faces of the three female classmates blushed. Ning Rongrong said shyly, Tang Ge, what are you looking at? Too small. Tang Ge secretly sighed regretfully, and shook his head. Too small? The three female students couldn't help being puzzled. Among them, Lin Yuchen and Zhu Ziuqing's attention followed Tang Ge's gaze to Ning Rongrong's heart. Then Lin Yuchen's face suddenly turned into a ripe apple. But Zhu Ziuqing spat in a low voice, and turned his body directly. But it was faintly visible that her eyes fell on her own heart, and there was a hint of secret joy in her eyes. At this time, Ning Rongrong finally reacted. Suddenly, she pinched her waist angrily and returned to her previous nature as a little witch. Tang Ge, tell me clearly, where am I so young? Sister, you are so young everywhere. Tang Ge plucked his ears, which were a little uncomfortable being shaken by Ning Rongrong's high-pitched voice, got up and walked back. Ning Rongrong screamed angrily again from behind. Tang Ge, you are hateful. I am not young at all. If you don't believe me, take a look. Tang Ge was so frightened that he staggered and didn't even dare to turn his head, for fear of seeing something unsuitable for children. So he hurriedly speeded up and left here. Later, considering that Ma Hongjin would not get sympathy after being beaten up by himself, out of humanistic concern, Tang Ge found him again. On the playground, Tang San and Dai Mubei hadn't left yet. They seemed to be comforting Ma Hongjin, who had completely lost hope in life. As a result, when Tang Ge came, these people jumped far away like frightened birds. For a moment, Ma Hongjin was the only one left on the spot. Seeing this scene, Ma Hongjin's heart that had just recovered a bit broke again with a click. He looked at Tang Ge full of grief and indignation, and shouted, Boss Tang, I have become like this, you still want to fight? Puff. But before Ma Hongjin finished speaking, a healing light suddenly appeared and poured into his body. Coupled with the effect of the soul skill joy, Ma Hongjin turned grief and indignation into happiness, unconsciously indulging in it. Even his pig-headed face quickly recovered, revealing an expression of enjoyment. Seeing Dai Mubei and Tang San's strange faces, wanting to speak but not daring to speak, Tang Ge suddenly smiled faintly. You don't need to thank me, I am a good brother who helps others. After speaking, he turned around and left here again. After a while, Ma Hongjin finally got out of the happy state. As soon as he woke up, he couldn't wait to touch his face. When he was sure that his face had completely returned to its previous handsome appearance, Ma Hongjin burst into tears of excitement. He whimpered, and said, I knew that Boss Tang wouldn't be really angry with me. Look, he came back to treat my injury himself. It's not like you. When Boss Tang came, you hid faster than anyone else. It's really disrespectful. Saying that, Ma Hongjin also looked at Dai Mubei and Tang Ge with eyes full of resentment. When Oscar heard this, he was immediately unhappy. He couldn't help but said, Before you ate the healing sausage I came to give you, don't I have any loyalty to you? You are loyal, but the three of them are not, Mo Hongjin said. Daimyo, Tang San and Xiao Wu listened with smirks on their faces, but there was always something wrong in their hearts. What is the principle that a person who is beaten is grateful to the person who beat him? Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed since the farce that happened on the playground. Except for a narrow-minded witch who was still remembering what someone said that she was little everywhere, the Shrek students had once again returned to the previous harmonious situation. Moreover, after 2 days of buffering, the impact of the explosion that occurred outside Soto City also gradually faded away. Therefore, Shrek Academy finally restarted the second phase of the training plan again. The afternoon of the third day. In an office of the college, Tang Ge and 9 people were called together. After a while, Uzaya Gang, who was in charge of the training plan, walked in from the outside. Looking at the 9 people present, he nodded in satisfaction. Very well, there is no shortage of one person, they're all here. I called you here today mainly to arrange your training plan for the next stage. From what Flender said, you have all been to the Great Soul Arena in Soto City, right? When everyone heard this, they nodded immediately. Seeing this, Uzaya Gang continued, since this is the case, you must all understand the rules of the Great Soul Arena in Suachuo City, so I don't need to talk too much nonsense. Your next training is to get the Silver Spirit Fighting Badge at the Great Soul Fighting Field in Soto City. And in order to facilitate your training, I will find a hotel near the Fighting Spirit Field and arrange for you to stay, but the basic necessities of life are completely up to you. I think, as long as you perform well in the Soto City Great Soul Arena, you should have a considerable income. Do you have any objections to this training arrangement? Tang San and the others shook their heads one after another. But Oscar couldn't help crying and said with a mournful face, Master, Ningrongrong and I are both auxiliary soul masters. Do we also want to participate in the soul fighting battle? It's okay if you don't want to participate. I can give you a small treatment alone, and let you continue the first stage of training. Uzaya Gang glanced at Oscar and said calmly. Immediately, he ignored the mournful Oscar and continued with the arrangement. Okay, let's talk about the arrangements for participating in the soul fighting competition later. In order to hide your identities and ages and avoid unnecessary trouble, let's all give ourselves a nickname when we come out. Who will come first? While talking, Uzaya Gang took out 9 very handsome masks. Seeing this mask, Oscar, who was still depressed just now, his eyes lit up, and he immediately spoke first. Me. My name is Oscar Xiaoang, Sausage Monopoly. In the end, before Oscar could finish speaking, Uzaya Gang made the final decision. Oscar, who was excited, suddenly drooped his head, depressed. Immediately, the others also took their own nicknames. Soon, only Tang Ge was left. Under the curious eyes of others, he smiled faintly and spoke. Hi everyone, please call me the Ancient Sage Monarch. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 122. The team battle begins, the Shrek 9 monsters. The Ancient Sage? Hearing Tang Ge's own nickname for himself, Tang San and the others froze for a moment, and 3 words popped up in their minds involuntarily. What a stinky fart. Even Uzaya Gang's face twitched slightly, and he couldn't help saying, your nickname is too high profile, change it. And considering that your own strength is far superior to that of your peers, you can choose to participate in this training in the spirit fighting field, whether you want to participate or not. But the only requirement I have is that if you participate in the soul fighting competition, try not to use soul rings and soul skills as much as possible. This is for your own good, so you are allowed to do this. If other soul masters heard this, they would absolutely curse. You don't let me use the soul ring and soul skills, but you let me participate in the soul fighting competition. Do you think I live too long? Is it good for me? But no matter Tang San or Daimyo present, they all deeply felt the same after hearing this. Even Tang Ge felt that there was nothing wrong with Uzaya Gang's words. After all, the fact that he has 3 10,000-year soul rings at the age of 12 is really appalling, and it would make people feel jealous if they saw it. Uzaya Gang was also afraid that if bad people were attracted, it would be bad for Tang Ge. As for not using the soul ring and soul skills, this is not a problem for Brother Tang at all. Just the yin and yang power of Wuhan Yin-Yang life and death chart itself is enough for him to be a qualified auxiliary system soul master. What's more, for Tang Ge, the identity of a soul master is just his appearance. His real strength is his pair of fists that can instantly kill the Soul Emperor. So Tang Ge said directly, "It's okay to not use the Soul Ring and Soul skills, but the nickname will not be changed no matter what. Forget it, it's up to you." Since this is the case, everyone is ready to find a hotel to stay in first. Regarding Tang Ge's decision, Yu Xiaogang couldn't say anything more. After a final confession, he left the office. Tang San and Tang Ge also dispersed, and went back to the residence to pack their luggage. In the evening, in a hotel near the Great Seoul Arena in Soto City. After simple tidying up, the 9 people of Tang Ge who were brought by Yu Xiaogang had arranged their residences. Because for the convenience of experience exchange, Tang San, Daimyo Bei, Oscar and Ma Hongjin lived in one room. Xiao Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, Lin Yuchen and Ning Rongrong lived in one room. Only Tang Ge strongly requested to live in a room alone, and it was still a big house. Yu Xiaogang has nothing to do about this. After all, who made him have 3 10,000-year spirit rings at such a young age? However, after he explained in detail the specific details to be paid attention to when participating in the soul fighting competition, and that both the individual competition and the team competition named after the Shrek 9 monsters needed to obtain the Silver Fighting Soul badge, Daimyo Bei's 8 people immediately gathered in Tang Ge's room. Suddenly, the originally huge room was overcrowded. Lin Yuchen walked up to Tang Ge, and said with a blushing face, "Brother Tang, the master said just now that the team competition is a 7-player competition, and our Shrek 9 monsters are 9. So I took the initiative to be a substitute just now. But besides the individual competition, points can also be obtained in the 2-person soul fighting competition. Brother Tang, can I form a team with you?" Tang Ge was not surprised to hear that Lin Yuchen was going to be a substitute. After all, based on his understanding, he knew that this girl was the kind of person who didn't like to fight. Coupled with the fact that the other party has practiced a more natural forest elf cultivation method, his personality becomes more peaceful. Fortunately, this change is not a bad thing, so Tang Ge let it develop naturally. But now he said with a smile, "The team competition hasn't started yet, so there's no rush for the substitute. As for the 2-person soul fighting match, Xiao Yuchen has already opened her mouth. How could your brother Tang refuse to agree? But when the time comes, you will be facing a soul sect team over level, aren't you afraid?" After finishing speaking, Tang Ge stretched out his finger and hung it lightly on Lin Yuchen's nose. Lin Yuchen blushed pretty, but shook her head firmly. With brother Tang around, Yuchen will never be afraid. At this time, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing were also having a headache about the 2-on-2 soul fighting match. As soon as they heard that Tang Ge promised to take Lin Yuchen to participate in the 2-on-2 soul fighting match, their eyes lit up and they walked over one after another. "Tang Ge, I don't care, I will let you take it," Ning Rongrong hummed tenderly. Zhu Zhuqing didn't speak, but just looked at Tang Ge quietly, making Tang Ge feel hairy all over. Tang Ge had no choice but to agree. "As long as you are not afraid, it doesn't matter if I bring a few more oil bottles anyway." "Really? Boss Tang Ge, please take my oil bottle with you." Ma Hongjin, who was worried that there was no one to form a team, ran over with joy when he heard Tang Ge's words. "No problem," Tang Ge smiled and nodded. Then he looked at Oscar not far away, and said, "Xiao, do you want to join my big warm family?" Seeing that the 3 female classmates had passed by, Oscar was suddenly moved. But before he could speak, Daimyo Bei standing next to him suddenly said, "Xiao, Tang Ge has enough people, don't trouble him anymore. It just so happens that I still lack people here, so you can form a team with me." Oscar really wanted to refuse, but in the end he still didn't have the nerve to say it, and said reluctantly. Seeing that Oscar agreed, Daimyo Bei, who had been worrying all this time, couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Later, when Yu Xiaogang got this result, he was very speechless. He wanted to break up the team combination again and let Ma Hongjin, Ning Rongrong, Zhu Zhuqing and the others compete. But the 3 of them firmly expressed their disapproval, and Tang Ge also stepped forward to stop them. Yu Xiaogang had no choice but to give up. Just like that, before I knew it, it was night. After the temporary training team was finalized, Dun Flender and Zhao Wuji also came from the academy. Then they joined up with Yu Xiaogang and Tang Ge, and entered the Great Soul Arena of Suochuo City together. Not surprisingly, what happened next was the same as what Tang learned. Although the Shrek 9 monsters had 2 more people, they were still assigned to the penultimate team battle tonight. and their opponent is the crazy battle team of the Quan Hunzhen lineup. Then, under Tang Ge's deliberate arrangement, Lin Yujin, who was originally a substitute, became the main fighter. And Ma Hongjin stayed with Tang Ge temporarily as a substitute. Although Ma Hongjin was somewhat disappointed by this, he was not angry. Anyway, the morning and evening matches were the same, and with Boss Tang leading him, he didn't worry at all that his fighting spirit badge would not be promoted to the silver level. Just as he was thinking, the host's excited shouts sounded from below. The next team battle will be played by Guangzhou, who has won 7 games in a row, against the Shrek 9 monsters who participated in the team battle for the first time. Let us wait and see who wins and who loses. Under the glare of the lights, the Berserker team and the Shrek 9 monsters appeared on the stage one after another. But because there was still time to prepare before the match, they quickly left the fighting spirit stage and went to the rest area. After Tang Ge and Dean Flender greeted each other, they also took Ma Hongjin to find Tang San and the others. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Ding Haitian Needle-like Existence. As one of the 2 major soul fighting arenas in the Balak Kingdom, there are also an extremely large number of soul masters who come to Soto City to participate in the soul fighting competition. So when Tang San and others came to the rest area, there were already dozens of soul masters resting here. Seeing Tang San and the others all wearing masks, many soul masters showed curiosity in their eyes. But some soul masters couldn't help but secretly sneered. Shrek 9 monsters? Even though there are 7 people with such strange names and masks, they are just a group of small characters who dare not show their faces. Obviously, they all saw the appearance of the Shrek 9 monsters and the Berserk team just outside. And for the soul fighting match between the 2 teams, these soul masters were not optimistic about the Shrek 9 monsters at all, and even wanted to see how the opponent was defeated by the crazy battle team. Tang San and others who had just arrived at the rest area seemed to have noticed the unfriendly and mocking eyes from all around, and couldn't help frowning. Third brother, Xiao Wu was so angry that she couldn't help but want to make a move. But Tang San stopped her, shook his head and said in a low voice, "Don't pay attention to these. The most important thing for us now is to formulate appropriate tactics to deal with the crazy team." Hearing Tang San's words, Xiao Wu immediately gave a hum, and became obedient again. Moreover, the upcoming Berserk team of the Quan Hunzhen lineup did bring them a certain amount of pressure. So after finding an empty sofa to sit down, Tang San, Dai Mubei and the others began to discuss tactics in low voices. But after a while, accompanied by the sound of heavy footsteps, a burly man who looked like a cow suddenly walked in from outside. Next to him, there was a woman dressed in enchanting clothes. As soon as he sat down, the burly man flirted with the enchanting woman regardless of the public place. Tang San and others who were discussing tactics stopped immediately when they saw the two. They recognized the man and woman as 2 members of the Berserk team. As if aware of Tang San's eyes, the burly man chuckled in the enchanting woman's ear and said something, then put her down and stood up from the sofa. Then he walked straight in front of Tang San and the others, and after focusing on Zhu Zhuking for a while, he suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed Zhu Zhuking's arm. "You pretty girl, don't mind playing with my brother, Court Death." Seeing that this burly man dared to touch Zhu Zhuking, Dai Mubei was furious, stepped forward and punched out boom. Accompanied by the dull impact sound, the burly man who also clenched his fist and swung out still stood firmly in place with a sneer on his face. And Dai Mubei couldn't help but backed up several steps before stopping. The retracted right arm was behind his back, trembling slightly. Later, seeing this scene, Tang San couldn't help shrinking his pupils. What a terrifying power! And at this moment, the burly man glanced over Dai Mubei who had just been repulsed, and then glanced at Tang San and the 7 of them, immediately shook his head with a mocking smile. "This level also wants to be our opponent. I advise you to admit defeat as soon as possible, is it?" As a result, just as he finished speaking, a faint voice suddenly came from behind him. Immediately afterwards, before everyone could react, a figure appeared in front of the burly man, and he just stretched out his thumb and pressed lightly on the other's neck. Boom. Immediately, the burly man flew upside down and slammed into a wall a few meters away. The entire wall was slightly shaken by the impact. After the burly man fell to the ground, he covered his neck with his hands and let out a painful wow sound. His face turned purple-black. Immediately, the eyes of the visitor who knocked the burly man away with one blow fell on the enchanting woman who was with the burly man. The enchanting woman felt cold all over, and said involuntarily, This is the rest room of the Great Soul Fighting Arena. Private fighting among participating soul masters is prohibited. Puff. Hearing the words of the enchanting woman, someone in the room couldn't help but burst out laughing. Tang San was also speechless for a while. But then their eyes fell on the person who came, and they breathed a sigh of relief as if they saw the magic needle of Tang Ge. Lin Yuchen couldn't help but walked over. Brother Tang, you're here. It was Tang Ge who came, and he nodded with a smile. Then his eyes fell on the enchanting woman again. Tang Ge's face turned cold, and he said lightly, If this is not the lounge, do you think your companion will still be alive? Cough cough cough. At this moment, the burly man who had just been knocked out coughed violently and finally managed to catch his breath, struggling to get up from the ground. But when he looked at Tang Ge again, only shock and fear remained in his fierce eyes. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you shocked Kuangxi and gained, shock points. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you shocked the spider girl and gained, shock points. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host. At this time, a burst of system prompts began to ring in Tang Ge's mind, which quickly increased his shock value by nearly, ! After Tang Ge heard it, he couldn't help feeling secretly in his heart. No wonder so many people like to pretend to compare. It really is cool to pretend for a while. It is always cool to pretend to compare. So his originally cold eyes could not help but soften a bit, but the words just now still left a shadow in the enchanting woman's heart. However, the huge movement just now alarmed the person in charge of the Great Soul Arena. So after a while, a middle-aged man dressed like a gentleman walked in from outside. His eyes swept across the scene, and he frowned. Rookies don't know that private fights are not allowed in the lounge, don't you, Berserker team? Also no. He looked at the enchanting woman and said coldly. The enchanting woman was very afraid of this middle-aged man, and hurriedly said, My lord, it was all a misunderstanding just now. I will leave with Guangzhan. After she finished speaking, she turned around and left the lounge as if fleeing like the burly man. After the person left, the middle-aged man looked at Tang Ge and asked, Are you also a member of the Shrek 9 monsters? Tang Ge nodded. After confirming Tang Ge's identity, the middle-aged man didn't say anything. He just reminded everyone not to have any more conflicts, and then followed him out. The originally chaotic lounge regained its calm. Boss Tang is a bull. He took care of that nasty stinky guy with just one finger. He still dares to miss Zhuking. He's really courting death. After understanding the situation just now, Ma Hongjin immediately flattered Tang Ge. Tang Ge ignored him, exchanged glances with Zhu Zhuking who was opposite him, then smiled and waved his hands. Okay, everyone sit down first. I just came over to confirm with you the quick enemy killing tactics that need to be executed after going on the field, all around. Hearing Tang Ge's arrogant words, the other soul masters who had underestimated the Shrek 9 monsters all overheard curiously. A soul master who can deal with a mad rhino with one finger, could that be a fuel-efficient lamp? End of this chapter. Chapter 124 Collision. Outside the lounge. The burly man had just walked a short distance when his legs suddenly gave way and he fell directly towards the ground. The enchanting woman who was accompanying him was taken aback. She hurriedly stretched out her hand to support him. With a worried look on her face, she said, Guangzai, are you alright? I'm fine, I'm just scared. After the burly man, Guangzai, regained his footing, he felt his legs still trembling slightly, and couldn't help but smile wryly shocked. The enchanting woman frowned, and said, I can knock you flying with one finger. I admit that the masked soul master is very powerful, but after all, this is part of a sneak attack. If you fight head-on and fair, even if you can't win, you won't lose too badly. As for being so afraid, you don't understand. Even if I block the opponent's finger head-on, I'm afraid I can't stop it. There was a hint of fear in Guangzai's eyes. He still can't forget the moment in the lounge, when the other party stretched out a finger and pressed his neck, as if the sky had fallen. He was instantly filled with despair. This kind of despair, Kuangxi never wants to experience it again, and even wants to give up the next team competition directly. But unfortunately, the actual speaker of the team is not Guangzai, but the enchanting woman beside him. So looking at Guangzai, who had almost lost her combat effectiveness, the enchanting woman's face clearly showed disappointment, but she didn't blame the other party. She just said softly, "Okay, the game must continue no matter what. If the opponent is really not the opponent at that time, I will let you admit defeat in time. Let's go, the game is about to start, let's meet up with other players first." Yes, Guangzai nodded. Immediately, the two of them continued to walk forward. After another period of time passed, the match between the Shrek 9 monsters and the Berserk team finally started. Under the announcement of the former person in charge of the fighting spirit field, Director Ao, the two teams boarded the fighting spirit stage again. Frenzy team. Crazy team, what about the 9 Shrek monsters? The Berserkers killed them, the 9 trash Shrek monsters, they are obviously 7 people, the lightress audience. Obviously, the audience was not optimistic about the Shrek 9 monsters who participated in the team competition for the first time. And they shouted excitedly, asking the Berserk team to destroy the 9 Shrek monsters. At the same time, in a room on the second floor of the Soul Fighting Arena, Uzaya Gang, Flender and Zao Wauki were watching the situation in the Spirit Fighting Arena below through the glass window. Hearing the roaring and cursing in the auditorium, the faces of the three of them suddenly turned ugly. Zhao Wuji couldn't help but hammer the glass window with his fist, angrily said, "A group of short-sighted people, really hateful, da da da." Just at this moment, with a sound of footsteps, Tang Ge and Ma Hongjin walked in from outside. Seeing Zhao Wuji with an angry face, Tang Ge chuckled suddenly. Since they are all short-sighted people, why should Mr. Zhao have the same knowledge as them? Tang Ge's right, everything will come to an end. Hearing Tang Ge's words, Uzaya Gang nodded. And Ma Hongjin happily talked about what happened in the lounge just now. The three of Uzaya Gang looked at Tang Ge after listening, feeling quite speechless for a while. "You said that you are a majestic soul master of the soul sect, and you can tear snakes with your bare hands, and you can kill the main battle of the mad team with one finger. Isn't this bullying him? Even if you do it, at least use 2 more fingers, what if you really scare people away?" But no matter what, since the soul master named Kuangxi was able to knock Daim Yubei back with one punch, it can be seen that the strength of his Kuang battle team is not weak. So Flender said, "In this way, the Berserker team should be a tough battle for Tang San and the others, not necessarily." A smile appeared on Tang Ge's face. Everyone was curious and was about to ask, but the competition below had already started, so they immediately turned their attention to the Spirit Fighting Arena. At this time, in the Spirit Fighting Arena of the team competition, after the host announced the start of the competition, the Berserker team and the 9 Shrek monsters showed off their martial spirits and spirit rings. Originally, Guangzai and Spider Girl of the Berserker team felt relieved because Tang Ge didn't play. But when they saw that the configuration of the spirit rings of the 9 Shrek monsters was actually the best 2 yellows or 2 yellows and 1 purple, they suddenly became serious again. Especially among them was a soul master from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. The other party has a soul master from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. "What shall we do?" Guangzai couldn't help but asked in a low voice. The Spider Girl frowned, and then gave a low drink. "Assist the soul master to increase the boost. The Agile soul master concentrates on solving the opponent's soul master of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, and the others follow me to attack head-on." As soon as the order came out, an auxiliary soul master who was protected in the middle immediately used his soul skills. The plate of wishful thinking, the light of defense blooms, wishful disc, attack halo blooms. These 2 boosting halos fell on the Berserker team, immediately improving their strength a lot. Immediately afterwards, the Spider Girl condensed a huge spider web in midair, directly covering the 9 Shrek monsters. Then the Wild Rhino fused with a Beast Spirit Rhino took the lead, leading 2 teammates with Monkey Spirits and 2 Sheep Spirits in a cone formation, and rushed towards the 9 Shrek monsters as well. Faced with this, Ningrongrong, who had known the tactics for a long time, did not rush, and immediately used her 2 soul skills. The 7 treasures are famous, and one is called Strength. The 7 treasures are famous, and the second is Speed. Tang San and Daim Yubei looked at each other, feeling the improvement of physical fitness. After nodding each other, Daim Yubei immediately used his second spirit ability, White Tiger Lie Wave. But this soul skill didn't attack Guangzai and the others who rushed over, but directly flew into the sky. With a dazzling light blooming, the originally suppressed spider web was instantly torn apart. As soon as the spirit ability was released, Daimube immediately fused his spirit ability, immediately fused his spirit to stagger away from the rushing Kuangxi, and went straight to one of the goat spirit masters on the side. At the same time, Xiao Wu and Zhu Xiuqing also rushed out quickly, stopping another goat spirit master and monkey spirit master respectively. In the end, only Kuangxi and a monkey spirit master were left. Seeing that he was ignored in this way, Kuangxi, who was already extremely irritable, suddenly became furious. He looked at Tang San, who was so close at hand, couldn't help shouting "Go to hell," then directly threw a punch and smashed it. But at this moment, both Tang San and Daimube showed smiles on their faces. Seeing this scene, the spider girl who was standing at the back suddenly felt calm, and instinctively sensed the crisis. She immediately yelled, "Kuangxi! Come back!" Unfortunately, it's too late. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 125 Moon Shan's Arrow. The beginning is the end. Seeing the smile on the face of the Shrek 9 monsters, the spider girl sensed the danger and shouted out. But unfortunately, it was too late for Kuangxi. Before his swung fist landed on Tang San, the slender but tough blue-silver grass vines appeared and quickly entangled him. At the same time, as Tang San used the parasitic spirit ability, vines emerged from Kuangxi's body. In the blink of an eye, Kuangxi's whole body was wrapped into a rice dumpling, and the paralyzing toxin of the blue-silver grass made him froze in place and couldn't move. On the other side, Oscar was not only not afraid when he saw the monkey spirit master rushing towards him, but instead smiled meanly. "Come on. Come catch the young master." As he spoke, he immediately swallowed a piece of mushroom sausage, and as the 3 pairs of transparent wings condensed behind him, he flew into the air in a flash. The same is true for Ning Rongrong. So as the two got up from the ground, the monkey spirit master who had just rushed over immediately lost his target. He looked up at Oscar and Ning Rongrong, who were flying in midair, with a look of disbelief on his face. "It can fly." But at this moment, Tang San suddenly gave a low shout. "Yujin, do it." Hearing Tang San's words, Lin Yujin, who had already been prepared, couldn't help but take a deep breath, and her soft eyes suddenly became firm. Transformed into a forest elf, she was slowly lifted off the ground by a whirlwind, and the elf bow in her hand was slowly pulled away. When all the soul power at level 34 was released and 2 sharp arrows hit the bowstring, she suddenly let go. Spiral arrow of the wind, hum. Accompanied by the sound of air vibration caused by the bowstring, the 2 sharp arrows resting on it suddenly came out of the string. Call out, call out. 2 streaks of cold light pierced through the space and flew out, directly forming 2 parallel and forward spiral winds in the rapid rotation. One of the mad rhinos that flew towards the mad battle team smashed the dense vines wrapped around its body as soon as it approached. But instead of letting out a sigh of relief, Kuangxi showed a look of horror on his face. When the rapidly approaching black shadow was reflected in his eyes, a shrill scream suddenly came out of his mouth. "What?" Puff. Immediately, the swiftly approaching spiral arrow directly blasted the wild rhino so that it vomited blood and flew backwards. In the end, he directly smashed heavily on the ground outside the fighting spirit platform. The number 1 member of the Berserker team, Kuangxi, is eliminated. In the sky outside the soul fighting stage, the host was also stunned by this scene. But immediately after he came back to his senses, he couldn't help but let out a cry that touched people's hearts. Did you see? This new team of Shrek 9 monsters turned out to be a dark horse, not only the best soul ring configuration, but also excellent tactics. The battle had just begun, and Kuangxi, the attacking soul master of the Berserker team with 7 victories in a row, was eliminated with 1 arrow. And the spider girl with the best soul ring configuration is about to welcome the strongest arrow of the opponent's social animal. Facing this arrow, can she block it, or will he be eliminated directly like the wild rhinoceros? Come on, let us scream together and look forward to it together. Fight, fight. The 9 Shrek monsters. The sudden change in the spirit fighting game and the ups and downs of the host's voice immediately made the audience's blood boil with excitement. Some people even tore their clothes in excitement, and kept roaring after standing up this moment. The Shrek 9 monsters, who were not expected at first, won the support of a large number of audiences. But in the soul fighting arena, the battle situation has reached the most critical moment. Lin Yujin tried her best to use the 2 soul ring combo skills spiral arrow of the wind. 1 arrow went mad for a second, and the other went straight to the spider girl at the back. The spiral wind blade brought by the extremely fast rotation not only made Daimyo Bei and Xiao Wu dodge one after another, even the several Berserker Team Soul Masters who were fighting with it were frightened and quickly retreated. As for blocking, thinking of the scene of Kuang Zai spitting blood and being blasted out, the eyes of the Soul Masters of the Kuang battle team showed a hint of fear. And for Spider-Woman, the crisis she can feel is more serious than other team members. So, seeing the spiral arrow getting closer, she gritted her teeth and used a 1,000-year-old soul skill, condensing one after another of spider threads, and quickly weaved spider webs in front of her. The spider webs were attached to each other, forming a fortified barrier immediately. After all this was done, the spider girl couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But when she looked at the spiral arrow in front again, her face suddenly became extremely frightened and angry. It turned out that the two spiral arrows of the wind shot by Lin Yuchen, except that the first arrow was indeed attacking Kuangxi, the second arrow was completely a feint attack on the spider girl. After deceiving Spider Girl's 3000th year soul skill, Lin Yuchen suddenly directed the second spiral arrow of wind to change direction and shot straight at the only auxiliary soul master in the Berserker team, taking advantage of the other party's inability to react. That's right. Just like the Berserk team wanted to deal with the auxiliary soul masters of the Shrek 9 monsters in the first place, the Shrek 9 monsters also set their sights on the auxiliary soul masters of the Berserker team early. It's just that compared to the two teams, the tactics of the Shrek 9 monsters are more secretive and unexpected. So at this moment, after all the team members were lured away, the auxiliary soul master of the Berserker team who had mastered the wishful disc was completely exposed. The wind spiral arrow that suddenly changed direction and flew towards him did not give him a chance to use his soul skills puff. What? The moment the spiral arrow of the wind hit Ruai Pen Soul Master, it broke the soul power on him. But Lin Yuchen didn't have the will to kill. So under her control, the spiral wind dissipated quickly, only the long arrow pierced directly through the left heart of Ruai Pen Soul Master. Accompanied by blood splatters, the Ruai Pen Soul Master suddenly let out a shrill scream, and his whole body was instantly flew out of the fighting spirit stage with the aftermath of the long arrow piercing through. Finally, there was a loud bang, and the auxiliary soul master fell to the stage not far from Kuangxi. A healing soul master from the soul fighting field quickly appeared, and he used his soul skills to stop the wound on Ruai Pen Soul Master's body from continuing to bleed. But even so, the huge pain after being pierced through the body still caused the auxiliary soul master to pass out directly. But on the soul fighting stage, the original 7 vs 7 instantly became 7 vs 5. The Berserk team is completely at a disadvantage. At some point, Daimyo Bei, Xiao Wu, Zhu Huking and the others had already returned to the team. After Lin Yuchen finished eating the small sausage provided by Oscar, her soul power was also recovering rapidly. Tang San stood at the front, looking at the dark and ugly spider girl opposite. He smiled faintly. Your auxiliary soul masters and the strongest attack type soul masters have been eliminated, and your combat power is obviously insufficient. Do you need to continue? As he said that, he slowly released the aura that belonged to the 1,000-year-old man-faced demon spider's soul ring. The spider girl who was originally unwilling was enveloped by this breath, and suddenly found that her martial spirit had been suppressed. Looking at the other players, fear was evident on their faces. The spider girl finally lowered her head. We admit defeat. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.